What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. Welcome to another episode of Heavy Metallurgy. It's Friday. This is episode number 273. We have some awesome guests today. And, of course, Alan's here. I just want to say before we jump into the mix of things that Neil Jameson from the band Krieg, his wife passed away after a very long battle with cancer. He passed away yesterday. There's a GoFundMe in the link in the description to help out him and his daughter, family. If you can, throw some his way. He writes for Decibel. He's done music in the underground for a very long time. So, sad times, cancer, awful. Our hearts and prayers go out to them. So cheers, Neil and crew and family. Alan, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing, Marty?
Not bad. Glad it's Friday.
Yeah, I think everybody's pretty glad it's Friday. It's been a busy week, but hello to everybody who's filing into the chat. And yeah, since folks are still kind of logging in, if you missed Marty's announcement, there is a GoFundMe link for Neil Jameson in the show comments to help out, with his wife's recent passing. Wanted to offer condolences to Neil and his family. And, if you can afford to add a little bit to that, that's great. If not, you can always just leave comments or something like that to show support in what's obviously a really tough time for them. So yeah, Neil's been a huge part of the heavy metal scene for decades, with everything from Krieg to Decibel to lots of other projects. So, yep, hate to hear it, but hopefully they can work through this hardship.
Absolutely. But we have a couple awesome guests, of course. Charlie is returning. How you doing, Charlie?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. I can't believe you've opened your gates to me once again.
I can't either after that whole Angel Witch debacle last time, but I'm going to be the bigger man and not bring that up again tonight.
Every time Charlie's on there, so he leaves something behind that pisses people off. It's a beautiful thing. And also joining us, Mr. John Cobbott from, Hammers of Misfortune. Advancer, the new project, which we're going to talk a bit about tonight, and LUDICRA and LORD WEIRD SLOUGH FEG, and this old timey gem here, Unholy Cadaver, 100 years ago, right? But John, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. It's really good to have you on.
Right on.
Indeed, yeah. I really appreciate you taking the time to do it, and we were just talking backstage that you were one of the lucky ones at Fire in the Mountains recently. Can you tell us just some highlights, how that went, how the festival was?
It was fucking sick, dog.
Well said.
It was skibbity riz, boomer.
Yes.
It was it was great. We left, as I was telling them, on Saturday morning. So we missed Psy and we missed Sub Rosa and we missed Between Two Worlds, which I guess is Diet Immortal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't see it. But we did see Enslaved with one of the tribe elders, which was amazing. It was unreal. I mean, it was like a real moment. And then Yob, of course, was incredible. They win the prize for the heaviest groove. Like there was a lot of ponderous music,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of booming, ponderous, low end, but the swing, man, the groove, the Yob just has that thing. So they won the prize for that. Who I loved was Full of Hell.
Oh, really?
Ah,
cool.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've never been a big time listener to Full of Hell, but man, they tore it up. They were freaking great.
I did see part of Neurosis's set, and that seemed like that was pretty crushing.
I have a weird thing with Neurosis. I mean, I like their first album a lot, but and I've been around the Bay Area for a long time. I know those guys; they're great guys. Something about the stuff they're playing now, it just doesn't connect with me personally.
Gotcha.
And this is just like a, you say tomato, I say tomato type thing.
Sure.
Nothing. They're absolutely brilliant. What's the word? Quintessential or foundational band for so many people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I respect the hell out of that. And I respect the hell out of the fact they got back together to do Fire in the. They're working with Firekeeper Alliance to help prevent Native kids from taking their own lives. And they're going to the reservation and speaking to these kids and teaching classes. And that is like, my hat couldn't be farther off to them.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
That's really cool.
But also, by the time they played, we were so covered in dust and been out in the sun all day. And to be fair, I mean, 16 horsepower was amazing, but it was kind of the same thing. Like, they played last on Friday night. By the time they played, I was like, that is so great, but I just kind of want to jump in the lake and then lay down. Luckily, there is a lake there, so you can go swimming, which is great. Everybody does. Charlie, you remember this. Everybody goes swimming on Saturday.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people like, you see everybody's body tats, out in the lake.
Yeah. I got into about my knees and I was like, ooh, it's too cold.
Yeah.
I couldn't go all the way in. I got I got scared and I left.
That's glacier, man. That's glacier. That's from the mountains. That's pure water. So it's cold. It's cold.
Yeah.
Shows like
so
that.
Anyway, Fire in the Mountains is also, I should mention, sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
Got a bit of a lag here. So it's alcohol free. There's no booze, which people are like, how do you do a metal fest without beer? Well, you know what? You can. And it's awesome. It works out great.
Yeah.
There's a real camaraderie there without the like drunk asshole in the pit factor.
Yeah.
Like I have a hard time imagining a fight happening at that festival. It's just it's such a vibe, such a good vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, sounds
So
like
we live 2 hours south of the Glacier National Park, so it's right in our neighborhood.
Nice.
2 hours from Montana is not much of a commute at all. So we're probably going to be going every year from now on.
Right on.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yep. And you've been out in, I mean, I know most folks associate you with the San Francisco scene, of course, but you've been out in Montana, about 10 years or so now?
It'll be 10 years in 16 days.
Okay, right at it. Yep. And it sounds like you've enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, it's been a whole different, well, we had to learn how to live here. There's this thing, like, I lived in San Francisco for, I don't know, 28, 29 years or something like that. Basically grew up there, like in the Mission District. And there's a lot of things that as an urban person, I did not know about rural life at all. So it's curious how little people who have never lived in a rural place, how little city dwellers know about what it's like to live outside of the cities.
It's culture shock in a different way.
Yep.
It really is. Like, when we got here, we were completely lost. I mean, the first time it fucking snowed, and our driveway is a quarter mile long up. It's an 800-foot rise up a quarter mile with 3 switchbacks. And over the side of the switchbacks are really steep hills. And the first time it snowed and I tried to go to work, like drive down that driveway, I almost died. It was like, oh, well, we called our neighbors. So like, oh, you don't have a snowplow? We were like, no, but we'll give your kids piano lessons for the plow driveway until we can get one installed, please.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. You really learn to rely on your neighbors, man, because out here, that's who's going to respond. I mean, your neighbors are the first responders.
Yeah.
If there's a fucking bear coming over your fence, like, there was a grizzly bear across the street a couple weeks ago. And we're not talking about a black bear. We're talking about a fucking Ice Age monster, like a fucking grizzly bear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole different type of bear, literally.
Because there was a June frost up in the higher elevations, which caused a die-off of a lot of the berries and other food plants that the bears eat. Mm-hmm. So when that happens, they come down to lower elevations, like pretty much where we live, because we live at the bottom of this mountain. And the hungry bears, they, if there's no berries up in higher elevations, they will come down and they will go through your shit. They'll like break into your garage. Bear break-ins are a thing in my neighborhood. Uh-huh. We almost had one just the other night. This bear was like sniffing around at our door, and my kid saw it. He woke up in the middle of the night and looked out his window. There's a fucking bear out of his window.
Oh, jeez.
But where I grew up in San Francisco, it was like fucking, there was the red guys and the blue guys and the 13s and the 14s. And there's these dudes walking around with AK-47s, and like there's gunplay in the street, and like you pick.
Yeah. 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 Have you navigated, being a musician in a very busy scene, then relocating to something so rural? Is it you just kind of felt that it was time to slow down in a certain aspect, or just want to remove yourself from it? Yeah.
By doing this.
The mad scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's been tough. That was very difficult because I have like my whole all my co-conspirators over the years live in the Bay Area. So, and there's not many people around here. There's not much of a music scene in Missoula either. And we don't live in the city at all. We live outside of the city, if in case that's not obvious by now. And most people who are really serious about getting somewhere with music in Missoula move to Portland or Seattle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or Minneapolis or Denver. So there really isn't much of a... The other thing is like, there's so much, do you know that there's a kind of music that's really popular called jamgrass?
Jamgrass.
Not familiar.
Nope.
It's a thing. Jamgrass is exactly what you think it's exactly what it sounds like. It's bluegrass jam bands.
So really, 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 really good.
Wow. I mean, to be in bluegrass, you got to be able to shred. Anyway.
Yeah, but I think this is more like, look, I got a banjo, and we're playing like jam band music. It's like an endless Jerry Garcia jam with like some hippie rapping about how he loves to smoke dope and like then wandering off stage and having a microbrew. Yeah. Everybody's wearing Patagonia vests and Tevas.
Right.
Jamgrass, man, it's a thing. I mean, when I first moved here, I was doing sound at the local VFW. That's another thing people in cities don't realize is the wages, man, the jobs in rural places. It's hard, man.
Slim pickings, yeah.
Dude, it's like the 90s called, they want their minimum wage back. It's like, you can't make shit out here. You really have to hustle. You have to figure something out.
Yeah.
Because the wages like that I made in San Francisco, I'm not going to go into the math, but it's when we came out here, it was like, holy shit, how do people fucking survive?
Yeah.
it's not like it's really that much cheaper to live here anymore.
No.
It was pre-pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You remember that thing, that pandemic?
From being a riff merchant to a bear whisperer.
Well, I actually, there is a season to all things. And what I realized since moving here is that there is a riff season.
There you go.
And it starts on the first day of school.
Right. All right, Alan, I cut in front of you there. Go ahead. What, you got some stuff for John?
Oh, no, you're good, Marty. No, we can go whichever directions we want. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of folks are very familiar with many of your classic projects, but we figured we might kind of pick things up around when Overtaker came out a few years ago, because you came back with Hammers of Misfortune and put out this really cool record that was pretty different than what you had done with Hammers in the past. Did you consider releasing that music under one of your other projects, or did you know from the get-go that Overtaker was going to be a Hammers of Misfortune release?
No, yes, and no. At first I was writing it under the name Overtaker. Like, I just made up an idea for a band, because I wanted to do really furious thrash. So that's what I started out doing, and then I got Blake Anderson involved and Frank Chin from Vector, who are now in a bunch of other Heathen and Warbringer and Crip Sermon, and et cetera, et cetera. Those guys got involved, and then Jamie Myers from Hammers got involved, and then at that point it started to sound like Hammers to me, more like Hammers. And then Sigrid, my wife and bandmate, was like, "Why aren't you just doing this under Hammers? It sounds like Hammers to me." I'm like, geez, I never thought of that. So I started to think about it, and then I'm like, but it's too fast. But she's like, so what? Who cares? I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fuck them.
Yeah. I mean, it is very different from other stuff in the Hammers catalog, but at the same time, that was always one of the great things about the Hammers catalog was it was a little different every time. It wasn't, there isn't necessarily a Hammers sound that gets adhered to. So a fast Hammers album really isn't that out of place.
Well, we've been getting faster. Like on 17th Street, we got fast. And on our first album, there were blast beats.
Yep.
But I felt like between like Locust Cheers and then 17th Street and then Dead Revolution, things started to achieve a little bit of a more consistency.
That's right.
You've got your metal riffs, you've got your Hammond B3, you've got your vocal harmonies. This is kind of our sound, right? We kind of, and I was really into that while we were doing it, and then for some reason I just wanted to play really, really, really fast. I still do. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's the neural pathways that form when you're a young kid those are the deepest furrows that get plowed through your consciousness in your entire life.
It's a birth of nostalgia in all of us. I mean, that's what takes us back. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, when I was 14, 15 years old, I was listening to hardcore and D-Beat, Discharge, GBH, Minor Threat, Bad Brains. And just that speed is just, for some reason, it just came back to me like, I just want to play fast. It just feels good. It feels right. So
feels feral.
It's just the fucking fury, man. Have you ever heard the Ingve Tokyo flight thing where he's yelling at the stewardess for spilling some ice water on it?
Yeah.
And he's like, "You've unleashed the fucking fury, bitch." I'm like, yeah, that's Ingve. That's what I'm trying to get with the music. The fucking fury.
Yeah, I remember reading like around when Overtaker had come out that you were wanting to capture that kind of furious thrash sound, the Dark Angel or Holy Terror sound, but that you also wanted to graft it onto like a prog sound. I think one of the quotes remembered from interviews like, "What would happen if like Holy Terror slammed into The Lamb Lies Down with Broadway or some classic prog album?"
It was actually Sadist Illusions slamming into Nursery Crime by Genesis.
Oh, there we go.
Awesome. Perfect.
Because I love, these are albums that I just absolutely adore, and I love them. Come back to them again and again.
Hell yeah.
And Sadist's first album, to me, is the most pissed off record I've ever
Agreed.
heard. It sounds like
Yep.
the aggression, the level, the fucking fury.
Certain Death,
that
lead
record.
off track, just
Oh yeah, it's
mission
just
statement
sick.
all day. Yeah.
Yeah, he sings the entire record through his fucking teeth.
Mhm.
It's just seething, man, and the energy is just wild on there. I love that album, love it. So when I heard that, I'm like, oh man, I got to get some of that, like fury. I got to get some of that fury. I love it. It sounds like the song's about to explode. Any second the whole song could fly apart. I love that. That just on the edge of chaos sound. I mean, when I first heard that, I think it was Venom. Welcome to Hell. When I was a little kid, young teenager, I was like, these guys are terrible, but holy shit, I love. Still to this day, fucking love those two Venom albums, man.
Yeah.
Black Metal and Welcome to Hell. Some of my favorite records ever. And not to go off on a tangent, but this is germane to what we've been talking about. Very psychedelic in their own right. If you listen to, especially
Venom?
Black Metal, Venom, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to let you state your case here.
If you listen to the Venom, especially Black Metal, and then all those really, really great 12 inches they put out, Bursting Out, Acid Queen, Warhead, and those guys were dosing all the time. Having read about them and interviews with them and stuff, I know this, but also the song Acid Queen, they make it pretty clear that they're doing a lot of acid, and you can tell there's they're in this studio at Neat Records, nobody's overseeing them. They're doing shit with reverb and effects and stuff that you're really not supposed to do at all. It's total amateur production job, but it's drenched in reverb and there are voices coming in and out, Buried Alive,
Throwing dirt on the microphone.
Yeah, exactly. But think about the monologue in At War with Satan on Black Metal. The dark silhouette of a creature.
Oh, it's awesome.
On a cliff's edge.
Yeah.
Waits eagerly. And all dream, I don't know if they took that off on later pressings, because I think I might have encountered a couple of streams where they take the monologue out.
Huh.
But it's this ambient bed of hellish screams, right? It sounds like you're suspended over the very pit of hell. And then Kronos starts talking in your ear, telling you this story. There's just a big bass note underneath it all, with a distortion on. That is fucking psychedelic, man.
And it's very much 80s and 70s television with the cliffhanger,
Yeah.
It's a total cliffhanger for the next episode,
That is fucking avant-garde. And if you listen to how noisy Welcome to Hell is, even out of the gate, Witching Hour does the same thing. It starts with this bed of bass with just these really reverbed out, delayed out screams coming in, and it's psychedelic, man, and it's garagey as shit.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see
Okay,
that.
thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
I understand your take on this now. At first, I didn't get it, but I get it now. That makes perfect sense. Yep.
No, very cool.
And then with Possessed, they lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah, by possessed things were
Yeah,
the
they
net
lost
was
it.
kind of gone.
They were
Yeah.
grabbing at straws at that point.
Yeah. So if Overtaker was your attempt to kind of fuse Vicious Thrash to prog, what is Advancer? Because Advancer, we want to focus on that as the new project. So that's going in a different direction from other things you've done before. Did you have a similar mission statement with Advancer that I want to take these two albums and see what happens if I collide these two things together?
No, this whole mess back here is basically a giant like 3,000 sided Rubik's cube that I've been trying to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's,
I don't know if anybody figures them out, dude. I mean,
This
there's some
yeah,
random shit going on in there, you know.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
This is fucking Sudoku, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to sort out like what can I do with all this shit, because it's been a really, really steep learning curve.
Yeah.
And but when I come up with something, there's a lot of tone chasing going on. When you say random, like, yeah, I do program a lot of drum parts where it's like, well, there's a 25% chance the snare will hit here. But I can't say that's I can't say whether, so I can design a drum beat on, and this is all analog shit. So I can design a drum beat with like, maybe the drummer's going to hit a snare roll here. Maybe he's not, or if he does, it could be like a, eighth note roll or 16th note roll or a triplet roll. I'm just going to program it in or patch it in so that I don't know how that's going to work. I just know it's going to be semi-random. So same with writing melodies, and I'm not going to bore you to tears with this bullshit. But what I will say about that, okay, I grew up listening, like I said, to a lot of hardcore, and I'm a child of the early 80s. So when I was 13, 14 years old, we were just discovering things like the Stranglers, Kraftwerk, Gary Newman's Two Boy Army. But of course, the big gateway drug for all of us kids in 1980 was Devo.
Yep.
Especially their first three albums. This is another classic first three album band, like Metallica. Don't tell my kid that. He loves their new stuff, but there's a lot of bands that I consider first three album bands, and Devo is one of them. Their first three albums are fantastic, and I still love them to this day. But when you listen to a song like Planet Earth off Freedom of Choice, it's like dun 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 dun. That's a metal riff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Totally metal. Or if you listen to Kraftwerk, dun, 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 the synths, the way the envelopes work on synths, is kind of the same way a downstroke, palm muted downstroke sounds on a guitar. There are very few other instruments that can make that kind of sound. Gum, 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 Charlie, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of weird parallels between the explorative nature of working with synths, but also the chasing of these really, abstract timbres. Because with metal records, they're designed in a way where the ear is acclimating to heavily processed things. A distorted guitar in and of itself is an extremely compressed and EQ'd and envelope shaped, all of the technical stuff. You're doing a lot of extreme things to the pure sound of a guitar to make it sound that way. And I think with synthesizer music, it's a similar kind of, you're saying, tone chasing, the rabbit holes that people go down with tone chasing. There is definitely an analog between the worlds of metal and, synthesizer music and all of those experimental 80s projects. So I mean, I definitely see the parallel for sure. And I also think that it's something about the spirit and the ethos of the music. You know, I think that the reason that it's so easy to be really into prog rock like Genesis and Yes and King Crimson, but to also have that same appreciation for a lot of the bands we're going to talk about tonight is because I think there's the same kind of thing that makes those people tick across the board. A similar pursuit of curiosity and also just like extremity. And there's a lot of accidental and weird ways that, like you're talking about, the actual design of the instruments and the music reflects similar pursuits in a weird way. Almost whether it's intentional or not, it's this kind of happy little parallel that happens. And I feel that very, very, very deeply. Like, you know, I still think probably the heaviest or one of the heaviest moments ever recorded to tape is the ending of Starless from King Crimson's Red. Like there's there's very little that parallels that kind of pursuit of extremity. You know, you could say that across their entire career too. But yeah, I think that people go to very strange lengths with guitars, just like they do with synthesizers. Yeah.
Actually, I did have a question on this, but we're already here. So, you know, being a guitar player and knowing guitar players, I also have a couple friends that deal with the modular synth stuff. I mean, as a guitar player, John, you know, tone chasing is part of the addiction. I mean, it isn't enough just to be able to play guitar. I mean, you gotta, my sound, you gotta find my sound. Ooh, this new thing, or this does this, or I'm going to add this to my sound. I mean, how does that transfer to a modular synth? I mean, yeah, there is some things to learn, but there's also a lot of randomness to it. And that's one thing about the Advancer album that I really took to is how rich the tones are that you've come up with. They're very, well, it feels like a metal album set to electronics in a lot of ways. The way you have the synth tones mapped out, it sounds like electronic distortion, you know, I don't know. But how does tone chasing, I mean, that is like the ultimate beast that you're feeding right there. I mean, you could add on and add on and add on. You could have that whole room just a swarm of wires, and you know it.
Dude, I've always been terrible at tone chasing on the guitar, especially because I could never afford to be one of these guys that changes tubes and then puts a mic in front of the cabinet and sees how it sounds and then changes tubes. You know,
it's madness, dude. It's fucking madness. It's so infinitesimal, the change it signs. You got to say enough's enough. I can't afford this trip. Anyway,
exactly. Go ahead. And I used to know a guy who you might be familiar with, the fucking Champs.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this guy Josh, he was also in Weakling. If you know Weakling. Josh is a good friend of mine, great dude. But he would do that. He would keep tone journals. Like he would change out one power tube and then like take notes, and then like change out, you know, one speaker in his cabinet, take notes. Literally, he had tone journals. We used to call him Obi-Wan Tone Obi.
That's terrible.
I know, it's terrible. But I was never that guy. Like I didn't know about mics. I was like, I got a Marshall half stack. That's what I got, man. You know, like I can't afford to retube it. And if I can, like, I just got to go with whatever the amp tech has in the shop. Like I didn't, you know, all those pedals and all those things. Like,
yeah,
I've never been great. Like my son listens to Master of Puppets all the time, which is cool. And that guitar tone mystifies me to this day. It's like, how the fuck did they mic that? It sounds like a fucking dragon. Like, those guitars are so heavy. Like, how do you do that, man?
What is it? Mesa Boogie Mark IIs, and I can't remember what the cabinets were.
I don't know. Were they greenbacks?
Probably.
It couldn't be anything super fancy back then because it was still, was it what, 85, 86?
Yeah.
But they didn't have all that fancy shit that they have now. Like, anyway, So to get back to your question, I've always been terrible at getting great guitar tones. I just get like an old Marshall, and like, you know what Obi-Wan Tonobi told me to do? He told me to get a Marshall and then get the Marshall governor pedal.
Okay.
And use those together. And that's what I do. Because Obi-Wan Tonobi told me to. Like, who would know better than Obi-Wan Tonobi?
You're my only hope.
I mean, like, he did this insane shit. He had this band here. I'm going on a tangent again. What the fuck was that band? He had a band where he decided he was going to get the And Justice for All guitar tone. And he nailed it.
Really? Okay.
He nailed it. Yeah, he did. You know what he did? And I'll tell you how he did it. For all you tone chasers out there, he got a PV 6505 version 1. Ran that super cold, like on really low volume. Put that through a power amp, and then ran that into two 412s loaded with Celestion Lead 80s speakers. And that's how he was able to get the Injustice guitar tone.
Wow.
And it sounded fucking amazing. But this is the thing about that dude. Like, how would you ever think to like run the amp super cold and then run it through a power amp, a separate power amp, and then into the cabinets? Like, I never would have fucking thought of that. But that's where this comes in. So, like, on this, I don't have to buy new tubes or new speakers. I can, like, you know, I have an oscilloscope. I can fold the wave, and, you know, I'm trying to do stuff like, okay, well, on this song, I want to make the synth sound like this classic Swedish, like, chainsaw death metal Sunlight Studios, you know, into crushing guitar tone. I want to try to get that on a synth, and I'll use wave folding and filtering and what have you to try and do that. And like, I don't get that sound, but on the way to trying to get it, I'll get something that I like. That's like, okay, now that's cool. I got to record that.
Couldn't you just plug an HM2 into the synth?
No.
Doesn't work that way?
I don't, you know, I don't use like distortion modules. The only thing I would use is if, I have like, there's a couple of filters that I have that have gain. You can control the gain going into the filter stage. So you are, okay, so if you have a sine wave, it looks like a gentle curve, right? Basically, when you're adding distortion, you're flattening the tops of those curves. That's why when you hear distortion, you hear what you're hearing is, you can hear it. It's kind of like a, you know, that's those flat tops of those waves, right? So, and when you're wave folding, you're doing the same kind of thing. So I think I've probably talked enough about that.
Oh, we love the nerd stuff here.
No,
Seriously.
So, I mean, it's fascinating. And, you know, as you're getting older, it's like, it's really good to have something that's really twisting your fucking brain into knots all the time, because you got to keep that shit sharp or you're going to lose it, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. So yes, you have all that going on, and then Charlie, a violin got involved. So, how did you meet John, and how did you come to get involved with the Advancer project?
So the first time that I got to see John play live was actually one of the last LUDICRA shows, Northwest Terrorfest 2023 or 4, whatever year it was.
Yeah, 23, I think.
Yeah. And I mean, I love LUDICRA. I love hammers, and had my bastard long sleeve on. You know, I loved it, but we didn't meet at that show. We met at Fire in the Mountains 2025, and I don't know how I recognized you, John, but it was just like something I saw you and I was like, wait, I think I know who that is. Came up and talked to you, and I was like, hey, got to know each other, took a photo together, And then it was in that conversation I said like, oh, I love Overtaker. And you're like, that's the first album that you want to bring up to me? Nobody talks to me about that album. And I was like, I don't know what got into me, but when I got home, you know, because like I love that record, and I have the first vinyl variant of it or whatever, the purple translucent one. So I took a photo of it to send to you to be like, no, look, I promise, like I love this album. And then we just started talking from there. So it's just one of those things. But working together on this record on the Advancer stuff was such a blast. I am on the track Vampire 2.0.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize I thought the name was like a verb for like vampirate, like to make someone into a vampire. And then I realized, oh wait, it's probably like a vampire who's a pirate. That's fucking sick. You know?
2.0.
2.0. Yeah. This time it's personal, but yeah, I don't know. It just something sparked, and you know, when we worked on it, it's you. I know that I'm having a great time working on a project. When you get into the toy box and the back and forth and the like shooting ideas off of each other like a springboard, and that's kind of just what happened with me and John, and we got way in the rabbit hole on it, and we're like shooting back and forth sheet music and all of these things, and the entire time I just, as anybody that's heard the album can attest to, I didn't have any idea what was going to happen in the end or how it was all going to fit together or sound. And that was also something that was really exciting about it, because I do a lot of string work for a lot of styles of music, and I typically know how things are going to fit together in the final arrangement. So it's a real nice pleasure when you send off your tracks and you have no idea what you're going to get back. And when I got back the material, I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like hearing the way that, John, you put it all through the modular synthesizers that you have, and the way that you were tone bending and stuff. I've never gotten to see my strings used and abused that way before. And so it was really exciting for me. It was fun.
Actually, this is a question for both of you, since John kind of manipulated your parts. You know, violin's a classical instrument. I mean, how do you hear where to put it into that influence into this aggressive, sometimes disjointed, you know, electronic? I mean, it's the clashing of two worlds, really. I mean, where do you find the strand to put that stuff in?
It's a dense recording. I mean, there's a lot going on that you have to make sure, like, you know, John has to make sure that there's space for me, and I have to make sure that I don't like completely
orchestra
overplay. Right.
Like the Panopticon record. Yeah.
Right. A couple layers here was more than enough. And the route that we ultimately went as far as like adding more was by doing a lot of like tone, like ambient stuff, and like reverberating weird distortion and delay and reverb, and chucking that around the mix in like the more sparse moments. But it got more into like sound design than like composing lines and melodies and things like that. Which is also something that is pretty rare for me to do. You know, I usually am writing like very motivic melodies and harmonies and traditional kind of classical stuff. Yeah. That people usually want an orchestra part to do. And fulfilling a slightly different role here was, cool. It was cool.
Challenge.
I don't know. It was a challenge, but it was a fun challenge. Like, it never felt like frictional. It just felt like, ooh, well, let's just throw spaghetti at the wall and keep throwing spaghetti at the wall and see how much spaghetti will stick. Yeah. Which was really fun. I don't know.
Now, Charlie, did you come up with the initial melody, or did I? I think you came up with the arpeggios over the turnaround, right? And then you sent those to me, and then I think you did just basically some improv. Yeah. And then I took the improv that you wrote, and then I basically scored a counterpoint to the improv and then sent that to you, which you then played. So I think that's how we did it, or it might have been a mix match sort of thing. But man, do I love working with classically trained musicians. Love it. Classically trained people who can read music are my favorite. Like, I love being able to send somebody a score, and then my wife does that. I can send her a score and she can play it back to me. I wish I had that skill, but I'm a untrained hack punk rock musician. So
learning on the streets, not no books.
When you do something on the MIDI grid in Logic Pro, you can hit score view, and that'll turn it into sheet music, and it makes you look super smart.
Right.
There was like some sheet music sent back and forth, and I think you're right. I think it was like, hey, do this in here, but like, what do you want to add? And then I added some stuff, but you structured it more. So it's just the kind of thing where it's like, it's one of the weird ways that remote songwriting works differently than when you're in a room as a band trying to do it all at the same time and like actively ping-ponging. It's like there's this forced kind of extra time of delay, but also like absorption of what the other person is doing. Like,
it's different. It's not like you're reacting in real time to what the other person is doing. It's like, it's more of a conversation. Like, an email conversation. It's more like, well, he said that, so.
Or like the people who play chess, like one step at a time over the phone, and they have the chessboard in their layer.
Like the Tyrell Corp in Blade Runner, they're having that remote chess match. Yeah, I mean, but it was like I do think that the violin in that song, you can almost get a bit of a conversational thing to it, because there's a bit of a call and response between the two. There's like the violins are kind of responding to each other. They're calling out to each other and calling back. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like those are your parts and my parts calling out. So it sounds erotic when I describe it like that, but I don't mean it to.
It's it's communication, right?
Yeah.
So whatever works. I mean, but yeah, I did have to remove. So after I got Charlie's violin parts for that, I took a bunch of like really, really heavy synthesizers out of the mix and added an acoustic guitar. I added an acoustic guitar and a tambourine instead. I'm in here like this.
Because vampirates would use a tambourine in this situation, I think.
It's the jingling buckles on their belt.
It is, yeah. Yarr.
Ding. Yeah.
Before Alan continues, we do have a question from someone here in the chat. John, question for you. If someone was to buy one Grail synth that includes a sequencer, what would be your pick?
I have to go with Moog Grandmother. And I know that the sequencer on the Moog Grandmother is not exactly very easy to learn. But it does have a lot of capabilities. You can learn the sequencer on the Moog Grandmother with a little bit of concentration and reading the manual. But if you want to start with, I mean, this Grandmother here is my favorite. This is my go-to right here. I love it. I can get almost any sound. Usually a song starts with this synth right here. And it does have a pretty capable sequencer. I believe it's a 32-step sequencer built in. Not the easiest thing to use, but it does have an arpeggiator, which is fantastic. And it also is an extremely dangerous gateway drug to the world of modular because it is semi-modular and it has a lot of patch points coming in and out, including pitch and gate. So if you have a sequence running on the Grandmother, you can send that into any other module and it'll play with it.
Right.
I hope that's a sufficient answer to your question.
All right. Sorry, Alan. Just wanted to get that in there before I got too far gone.
Oh, no. Yeah, I saw that come up, so I'm glad you remembered to flag that. But yeah. I mean, just a few other things about Advancer. How's the reception been so far? Because the new release is the second release. You had a Thrashkraft Volume 1, and now Thrashkraft Volume 2 is out. How's the overall reception to the project been?
There really hasn't been one. You know, I'm not on a label, man. Like, I don't have a publicist. I don't have a manager. I don't have any social media presence, man. You know, like, you just throw a rock into the woods and maybe it'll hit a rabbit. Maybe it won't.
It hit a grizzly. Yeah.
I mean, if you hit a grizzly, at least you probably get some likes, you know.
Yeah,
Maybe somebody will put it on TikTok, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I sent it out to some folks, and I got like, you know, I got a little. But the thing is, here's what you find out when you self-release, right? Like, because I've been on Metal Blade, and I've been on Profound Lore, and I've been on Cruise Del Sur, and Charlie knows these blues. Those labels are, you know, they're in with the media outlets like, you know, Decibel and all the blogs and stuff and the magazines and stuff. All the AOTY people, you know, like the labels are in with all those people. Like if you're not like on one of those labels, it's not that they don't care. Well, I mean, maybe it is that they don't care. It's just not, you know, they know which side of the bread the butter goes on, man. Like, I don't have any money, you know. I can't pay them, you know. Like, I'm not going to advertise in their, you know, it just seems to me like the bands, you see the same bands every year, like get on the lists, you know, and get the reviews and get the attention. And they're all up in your Instagram feed or whatever, you know. You see the same bands, like, I don't mean the same bands year after year. I mean, like, you'll see, like, oh, wow, Castle Rat is really big now. Like, I don't know who they are. I just know that they're, like, they're getting
the hype right now. Yep.
Yeah, they're getting thrown at me. I don't know who they are, but I know whoever they are, they have a good publicist.
Plus, they have a dog and pony show concert too. I mean, they're it's not just folks up there playing. They dress up and they got a skit.
They have a dog and a pony.
They have a dog and a pony, and you know, best in show.
I thought they would have.
Yeah. If you pay the VIP, you get to ride the pony. It's a whole thing.
See, I don't know. Hey, look, they could be the next fucking Satyricon for all I know. I just don't know that. I just know that I see them in my feed all the time. So I know that they're getting pushed. Somebody's pushing them, but nobody's pushing my stuff. And the thing about the, like, what do you have? You have bots feeding algorithms, trying to please bots who are trying to please algorithms now. Yeah. On social media. And like, I can't look at that shit for more than 30 seconds at a time before I just have to go get out. I have to get out. I can't stand it. It really bugs me. And I have to, here again, like, I have to use it, right? How many times, Charlie, how many times have you been told, oh, you just have to post constantly?
Yeah, I mean, it's
we don't do that.
Right.
I mean, I'm half of his label, so it's like, nah.
I'm lucky in that regard, you know, but that's because
it helps.
Yeah, it does help. You know, I try to post a thing here or there, but
I don't do it either, though.
It's a reluctant game. It's a reluctant game that you have to play, and you know, it's a conversation that I think I have with every single person that does music at any level. It's the reluctant, like, oh man, I just wish that I didn't feel obligated to do this because it's bad for my mental health. It is really distracting in terms of my time management.
Time suck.
Going down the doom scroll and all of these things, and it's also a bit of an isolating process, and it's a challenging thing to, not only have to make the art, but then figure out how to market it. Yeah. I like that being separate departments as much as possible, but that's just not the world we live in. We could go down the whole rabbit hole with, the way that the industry and the economy around it has completely changed, but yeah, it puts a burden on the people who what they do best is building mod synths
Don't
on,
get me started, man.
90s
Don't-
wages.
Oh my god.
I mean, it's almost the opposite of the creative process. I mean, it's the follow the template and just, fill in the blanks, which is exactly what the creative, minded folks don't want to do.
Right.
And then it's more of it gets put on you to have to, not only do something that isn't as creative, but is just, monotonous,
It's-
repetitive, copy and paste. It's literally copy, paste, tag,
Yeah.
add your own hashtag and send it to the next, unit in the line and hope a bot sees it. I'm assuming this is kind of, the inspiration for the lead track. We don't need no bots.
Well, that was what I was going to say is that's the inspiration for the last track on Overtaker, which is, the parasite designed for your algorithm, and these platforms that we are all that have co-opted our very means of communications, the means that used to be zines and flyers on poles and word of mouth outside the gig. All of these means of communication have been co-opted by billionaires who have created these empty vessels into which we must pour our content, and on whom we depend to get the word out about our things that we're trying to do as people, that then get scrubbed by fucking AI to train AI to post fucking slop on our feeds that we have to sift through while we're trying to figure out how to promote what we're doing by our hard work and blood, sweat and tears. And I don't like it.
Plus you slave to write an album, to say something, contribute to an artistic something, and to have a 2-week window after the album drops where people give a shit.
Exactly.
And if you don't do shit within 2 weeks, the label don't care about you. Everything drops you. It's amazing. It really is amazing. You work hard for 2 weeks of hopeful support. Anyway,
But what I will say, to that point was that, and this isn't going to make anyone feel better, I just want to state that now, but I just recently
should I get out the dog and pony? Wait.
Yeah.
hey Marty, just keep those immortal guys away from, and the Satyricon guys away from the pony this time.
Okay.
That photo shoot didn't end well.
I reread Albert Modrian's Choosing Death recently, and I was reading the part that stuck to me the most this time was when all of the death metal bands went major label, and how it screwed everything up, and the rapid nature at the time where they felt like everything disintegrated, and it's like, and they're talking, in span of like 1 or 2 years, but it feels like in a lot of ways what they're going through is like the exact same attention cycle that people are going through today, but it's on like a month-long scale of time rather than a years-long scale of time. So that whole media cycle just accelerated, but it's the same kind of roller coaster ride. It's just we're riding it a lot faster each time that we do something.
Is that like when Orbit Angel got signed to Warner Brothers or Elektra or whatever?
Relativity, wasn't it? Wait,
They were giant.
a giant.
Morbid.
Morbid Angel,
Giant.
when Carcass got signed to.
That's right.
There was a bunch of the bands that got signed to, what was it, Columbia?
Columbia, Godflesh.
Columbia had the earache deal.
Yeah.
With,
right. Yeah, it was all
Napalm
about
and
that.
Entombed and one other.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, there's, black metal starting up in Norway is a huge rebellion, a backlash against guys in hockey jerseys from Florida playing death metal.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Oh, I'm glad you brought up the hockey jersey thing. That was something I wanted to ask you about, because yes, you've been on record, in the past, about that. And I mean, it carries over with your projects, Hammers and Misfortune. You always had a very classy look in photo shoots and live performances. Why was that so important to you to not just be the blue collar, white high tops kind of look, when you're doing photo shoots and performing? Why did you want hammers to have that different, again, more kind of classy appearance to it?
I'm just a fan of music, and a lot of the bands that I really enjoyed the most were like Seeing the Damned, or even the Dead Boys, or even like the Obsessed. Like they had a vibe,
Mm-hmm.
and I like it better. I think it's, I'm not going to go on stage like dressed to the nines, because that's a pain in the ass.
Sure.
I have done in the past, and it adds a whole other layer of work to, having to get out on stage.
Especially if you're on tour, you have to keep those clothes relatively nice and launder them, or you're going to smell like ass.
Yeah. And if you have to do your makeup like before the gig in a small club, like you're doing corpse paint or something, like, oh my God, I don't know how people do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, like, we have rules, like for number one, like no shorts on stage unless you're the drummer.
Yeah.
It just looks stupid. Like, just wear long pants, man. Like, preferably boots. But if you're going to wear tennis shoes, let's try to keep all the corporate logos to a minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just shit like that. Just basics, man. Like, a button-down black shirt is better than a band logo on your shirt. Like, let's keep the logos to a minimum. Just no fucking teams. Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you're a Bengals fan. That's great, but that's not what this is. This is, something that's really important to me with metal, especially, is that there's a sense, at least some sense of mystique to it. Some sense of mysteriousness or spirituality, or I don't know what you would even call it. But you know it when you see it. Like Venom has a mystique,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like, if you're listening to modern day Exodus, where it's kind of like this tough guy bullshit, like, I'm gonna come up here and kick your ass because I got a gun, and like,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Mm-hmm.
that's, or like Pantera is another example to me. I mean, brilliant musicianship, really, really great musicianship, and all that stuff. But that whole it just sounds like the singer is trying to start a fight,
Mm-hmm.
But what is like mystical about that? What's mysterious? Like, I'm looking to get something otherworldly out of music. Like, I don't know if you would call it a third place, or like music is it's kind of a spiritual thing to me, I guess. When you come down to it, it's not about listening to some guy who's like sounds like he's trying to start a fight with you. It's like, it's about something deeper than that. And it's like I said, when you hear it, like I really look for that in all music. And I don't know if that makes any sense or not. And I'll open that up to you guys.
Yeah. No, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Totally connect with that. I mean, good music should have the capacity to build a world outside of this one.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have those albums that do it for us, of course.
Indeed. Yeah. But let's see, to maybe sort of wrap up this part of the conversation on maybe a brighter note. I understand that, like you said, it's hard, especially for independent artists, to get noticed these days. At the same time, in your case, you've got a career that goes back decades, through a lot of projects that people hold very dear and in very high esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know you've got a very strong fan base just yourself. People will check things out simply because you're involved with it. You've established that kind of legacy where people want to hear what you do next. Does that help balance out all the crap that you have to deal with sometimes?
You know what? It's like, I don't really think even, I sometimes I wonder if it's fair of me to like put out an album like Overtaker or Advancer and like notify my Bandcamp followers that, oh, I put something out, because like, are they a fan of Hammers, or are they a fan of me? Like, I think they're probably a fan of Hammers,
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
And like Overtaker is that, I could see why people, there were people who are like, doesn't sound like Hammers. And I'm like, yeah, that's not, they're not wrong. Maybe it doesn't sound like Hammers. I mean, I think it does, but maybe I have a different idea. Like for me to like promote Advancer to like Hammers or LUDICRA fans seems kind of, I don't know if I should do that. It's maybe some of them will like it, but a lot of them are just going to hear synthesizers and be like, no, I'm not here for synths. I want metal.
Of course you should do that. You should promote to them. And if, you're going to get that. I mean, you're starting to slice down the fan base of people of the metal community that actually like electronic music. That's going to happen. But hey, you might turn on some people that are into it. Like, holy shit, this rips, which it does rip in its own way, I'm
glad.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of Hammers fans, LUDICRA fans, etc., who would like the challenge of this. Like the first time I listened to it, when you sent us the link to check out the Advancer stuff, playing it the first time was just like, whoa, what is this? Okay, I don't know, but I'm going to play a few more times. Like, okay, and after a couple of plays, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. It starts to connect and. I'm thinking about it in context like, okay, it's almost, so he did, furious thrash with prog on Overtaker, and now he's almost doing like furious thrash, but through a complete electronic filter. So it's, in a way, it started making sense after a few listens. I'm like, it's different from other stuff I listened to, but it's really cool. It's a challenge, but it's the fun kind of interesting challenge that I think a lot of fans will enjoy digging into. It may not end up being for everyone, but I think a lot of folks will be on board at the end of the day.
And I think I give your fans a little bit of credit too, because Hammers, LUDICRA, not all this stuff is amazing music you've made, but it's also not run-of-the-mill metal. I mean, your fan base already has a fairly open mind and appreciates the challenge, I think. So you got to take a little of that into consideration.
I agree, and one of the problems that we've always had, or I guess I've always had in my career, if you could call it that, is that we never clung very tightly to strict genre.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be really, really a lot easier for us in Hammers if we had like basically been, we are just U.S. traditional heavy metal band. That's what we do. Put us on the bill with fucking Iced Earth.
Yep.
It would have been a lot easier for us to do that, but I mean, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. Like, I just do it. So things, or there's always those people who are like, oh, well, this sucks. It has keyboards.
There's always going to be.
You've seen that guy. Or this sucks. This has female vocals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or in LUDICRA, it's like it would have been really easy for us. We were right at the right time to come out of San Francisco as a total like Dark Throne / Emperor worship.
Oh yeah,
we could have been the first Cascadian black metal band, but we didn't because we were a bunch of weirdos. That's just can't help that. The other thing about We Don't Need No Bots that I wanted to mention is that, going back to a few questions ago, is that my son, I had written that was a modular jam that I did, and I wanted like just a ranting voice on that song, and I was like, I want like a young voice, like not somebody my age, like a young person. And I looked at my kid, I'm like, well, you're young. Yeah. You're 10 years old. I mean, I was like, hey man, do you want to sing on this thing? And He's like, sure, Dad. I'm like, okay, well, let me play you the song. And he's like, no. And I'm like, all right, well, you want to listen to it later and write some lyrics? He's like, no, let's just do it now. So, so I put the microphone up, and he just started ranting about AI and skibbity toilet memes and all this shit. So I was like, this is amazing. So I did like 3 or 4 takes of that, and then I just edited the track together from there. So I just want to make it clear that I did not write those lyrics at all. None of that was me. That was my kid. He wrote all those lyrics, and he wrote them off the top of his head.
That's really
awesome. Yeah.
Let it be known that was my child that came up with that whole thing, title and all. And it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful to watch him just do that off the top of his head. You know what? The kids are going to be all right. At least some of them.
Yeah. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Let's see. Marty, is there anything else you'd like to follow up with?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground. Thanks, John, for the candid glimpse into your process and, modular synth work and all the good stuff. And I appreciate all you folks
thank
too.
you.
A lot of love for LUDICRA and hammers and stuff in the crowd. So cheers.
Right on.
Yeah. And yeah, for folks who may have joined in late, the link to Advancer's Bandcamp page is in the show notes.
Yes.
So if you're trying to picture what the heck we've been discussing and what it would actually sound like, it's one click away. Go check it out and see what John.
All you
what John is up to
vampires
this
out
time.
there. Yeah, all you vampires out there with your tambourines.
You can't resist a vampire now. Come on, nobody in this chat can resist that. You got to check that out. But yeah, no, it's very cool. Very cool and very interesting project for sure. Let's see.
So yeah, I guess we slide into the topic, which I think works pretty well for our guests this evening. Bands that defy convention. John has made a very long push the boundaries. John has made a long career of being in bands and contributing to bands that don't necessarily walk the same path that others do, and it's very refreshing, but it could be a culture shock for some people. So yeah, we thought we would talk about some bands. We're going to go one at a time style. John, we're going to go around and take turns.
Yeah.
I'll have Charlie go first. I think.
Let's get Charlie hop in here and
Cool.
show something he would like to.
While he talks, I'm going to go urinate. I've drank a gallon of tea. I'll be
You
right
could
back.
just say, I'm going to go get something real
I'm going to
quick.
go get something. Dogs and the ponies need some food.
Yeah. All right. Well, so for the first band, I guess what I'm going to talk about is last time I saw John was at this show. I picked up some CDs by the incomparable Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum. This is
That's a
an
good pick.
absolutely phenomenal project out of the Bay Area. They've been active for quite a while and have recently come back and started to be active again. I bring them up first because not only was it the last time that me and John saw each other, but they're just a really special band to me. I've been a fan of them since I was surprisingly young. And they've been a big influence on me in terms of music that is unconventional, really breaking out of the mold. And I think they're an interesting band to talk about first because they do so with a lot of brains. They're not just trying to be animalistic and unstructured necessarily, but through great structure and great music theory and applying it in really novel ways. They build all their own instruments. They're very crafty and resourceful. The costumes, everything about it. There's a lot to talk about with this project, and I'm holding up the first and the last records from their catalog to this point. If you were to start anywhere, I would recommend starting with the earlier material. This is grand opening and closing, which I think is a great place to start if you were to start anywhere. I see mentions of Mr. Bungle in the chat. Yep. What I love about this, there's also a very punk rock ethos to it. There is a track on here called 1997 parentheses. Tonight we're gonna party like it's ... And what I love about it is that it's like the most brutally nerdy prog material, but it has this scathing, angry punk spirit to it that's like making fun of Prince's 1999 while also just bringing the house down. You really
Remember
get
the Dead
transported.
Boys.
Yeah. It's just an incredible record. It's an incredible band, and it's something that, kind of like Alan, you were talking about with the Advancer material, it takes a lot of listens for it to really kind of crack its egg open and expose itself. It bears repeated listens, and it took a lot of listens for me to get into them. But now they've just got a hold on me that they're not, I don't know. I love that band forever now. So.
That's
all
a
right.
cool first pick. Yeah. I'm not very familiar with their music, but I get a lot of mileage out of their name since I have to work with museums and have connections with them a lot of times. If I'm having to fill out some just, random form no one's ever going to look at, and they ask for like affiliation, we'll sometimes write just Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum.
Well, and there's
no one's ever called me on it yet.
You could say it's part of the John Kane Society, which is like, there's this entire whole like narrative mystery built around the band and this kind of figure, John Kane. I don't know. That's all stuff that I have to remind myself of, but yeah, that's cool. Anyway, Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum.
Nice one to start with, Charlie.
All right. John, you're up. What's your first pick?
I'm going to second SGM for sure. They have, I saw Idiot Flesh back in the day because they were a Bay Area band and they were incredible then. Then I saw Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum when they came out, and this band had I was picking my jaw up off the freaking floor watching those guys. I mean, they blew my fucking mind. Like, they were incredible with the homemade instruments that Charlie brought up. Incredible songcraft, deep knowledge of like modern composition, deep knowledge of like punk ethos, deep knowledge of like metal and hard rock. And those folks were the real deal. They were living in the squats of Oakland with Crucifix and all those other people, Neurosis and like all those people. So yes, hard agree with Charlie on Sleepy Time. In fact, we ran into each other at the Sleepy Time Gorilla Museum show and had a great weekend. So last time I was in Portland. But I'm going to throw out, what I'm going to throw out is Blasphemer Era Mayhem.
Oh, cool.
Actually, I had a couple of those as well. I'll show off what I pulled. Grand
Yes.
Declaration and Ordo Ad Chaos were two favorites of mine.
Exactly.
Go ahead, John. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. You and I were thinking along the same lines there. Blasphemer had an incredibly difficult task to fill Euronymous' shoes.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody says. Dumb Mysterium is one of the best albums. One of my favorite albums of all time. I love that fucking record. And it was like, holy shit, they took Napalm Death and Bathory and somehow made that sound good together. Like, amazing. But Blasphemer comes in on Grand Declaration of War, and that's what he did. Like, the title of that album.
Yep.
He's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And then they did that record. And I love his shit, man. He talks, I think on one of the albums, he talks about guitar architecture. And on all the Blasphemer stuff that he did with Mayhem, the guitars and the structure of the songs is just incredible. Vastly underrated guitarist, Blasphemer. And people who dislike Blasphemer Era Mayhem may want to take another listen, and take a gummy first. Because, like, I swear, I'm like listening to these albums. Like, Order Ad Chaos is so dense and so dark. It's just, it's a mess, but it's just fucking gnarly. It's such a trip, man. Like, that album is no bullshit. And yeah, I know they were influenced by DSO, you know.
Sure.
But you know what? They were taking inspiration from the right places. You know, because DSO around Pericletus era was like, you know, they were doing some crazy shit too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
the whole tremolo picking while bending the strings is such a obtuse, disorienting vibe. It's awesome. Yeah.
And I know that they took a lot of inspiration from Vedwin's End, who Vedwin's End has had a much more pronounced influence on so much of black metal that came after. And they took a lot of inspiration from Voivod. So, but yeah, Blasphemer era mayhem, particularly Grand Declaration and Order Ad KO. But I would throw in the Chimera as well, just because of the guitar architecture. And yes, they were trying to return to form. It was a bit of a fan pleaser, but you know what? From Blasphemer, I'll take that, man.
Yeah,
he's so good. He's so fucking good, man. His riffs are just so labyrinthine. Yeah, love that. Have you checked
out his Ruin band? It's really good.
Yeah,
it's really good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, good one, Alan.
All right, I'll start with one they didn't. Well, we've already touched on this band in the conversation earlier, but Venom. Yes, not virtuoso level musicianship pushing boundaries, but just the whole concept. And like John mentioned earlier, the mystique, just this picture.
Yeah.
This is the picture. Totally. It's just like, who are these people literally like serial killers? It just, you have so many questions when you see this picture, the reactions to it. Frank was in the chat earlier, and I know like Frank has spent a reasonable amount of time doing things like Google Earth searches, pinning down the exact like beach,
the exact mud puddle.
I mean, and it just gets to what we talked about earlier. You know, just the picture alone inspires that kind of curiosity that people are willing to go to that much trouble to learn more about the world that's being depicted. Just with 3 guys standing here holding weapons and posing in the water. I mean, it can be described really simply, but it has that huge impact. And just, you know, for Venom to take it so over the top so early compared to everybody else. Yes, new wave of British heavy metal is kind of, you know, redefining heavy metal at that time. And sure, there are all kinds of bands through the 70s that had occult themes in the lyrics. You know, Black Widow did a lot of that. You know, it was even a decade earlier. But Venom just, they didn't crank it to 11. They cranked it to like 42. The song titles, the lyrics, even on the back cover, you know, they put this, you know, crazy little blurb with, you know, lyrics, you know, we spit on the virgin you worship and sit in Lord Satan's left hand. It's like, that's some other level shit for 1981. Nobody is pushing it that hard that early. And earlier this year, you know, I was just kind of looking at, you know, releases of early black metal stuff, first wave. When did these different bands kind of get onto the scene? Venom was so far ahead of the pack. This album comes out in late 1981, but they already had, you know, the single for In League with Satan had come out earlier in 81. They were demoing this material in 1980. You don't really have much else that can be considered first wave black metal happen really until 1984. It takes other bands almost 3 years to catch up. You know, Merciful Fate's the only other one doing something that overtly satanic this early. And then you kind of have to wait, you know, Hellhammer becoming Celtic Frost and some other bands picking it up a few years later. And this was popular too. It's not that this was like buried underground and nobody knew about it for several years. Venom were very popular at the time. It worked. That over-the-top presentation, it really did. It captured imaginations and it sold records.
It was a satanic panic as well, so they totally leaned into the hype of that. You know,
there's about 5 bands that, you know, came out of the new wave of British heavy metal and made a long-term career out of it. And Venom is one of those 5. Now, yes, Venom sort of burned out early, like we mentioned earlier. By album number 4, it's like they just got outpaced by younger bands with more musical acumen, taking things in different directions where Venom just either couldn't go or wasn't ready to go. But still, to do something this crazy, this obscene, it's not even just over the top. It's almost like they had to build extra stories and then go over the top of what they had just built to try to describe it. So that early Venom stuff, it's amazingly fun music. It holds up extremely well over time. And it's definitely a band. They didn't just push conventions. They just said, fuck conventions, and they did whatever they wanted to, however they wanted to. And everybody fell in line. It worked brilliantly. So that was my first pick, would be the early days of Venom.
All right.
Marty, what you got for your first pick, sir?
Well, this is a cheap pull because we just talked about this album for 2 hours on Wednesday, but Transcendence into the Peripheral by Disembowelment. This album, the core of it is death and doom, but they throw in some grindcore at times. But I guess the biggest thing that sets them apart, that maybe makes them a little more hard to classify, is the 4AD influence, the Cocteau Twins, the Dead Can Dance, gothic influences that they do very, very, very well on this record. And this is an album that triumphs for the diversity and the simplicity. When it comes to stripped down doom, funeral doom in particular, you really have to rely on atmosphere, because, crunching on an A or crunching on a B or whatever they're tuned to, that alone isn't a riff worth really praising. But, you add in these creepy, clean guitar lines covered in reverb, and this album is really, for the time it came out with, I can't remember, 94, 93. Yeah, this thing is a class kind of all by itself. It kind of wants to sit within a doom sphere, but they got too much other things going on. It's how many doom bands throw in grindcore blasts? It's just on paper, it seems like it would be too much, but these guys somehow find the right strand, and they, there was a one and done full length. They had an EP as well. They splintered into Trial of the Bow and eventually Inverloch, which is kind of trying to capitalize on the spirit set forth by this early Disembowelment stuff. But this is a special album, and it's easy to say, oh, it's death doom. There's a lot more than that going on. I think it makes it the 4AD influence, which, for those of you like 4AD, what the hell is that? It was a record label that put out stuff like Cocteau Twins, Dead Can Dance, Clan of Zymox, a bunch of stuff like that. And these guys must have been listening to that shit a lot, and somehow arrived at this perfect union between that world and this death metal, grindcore, doom, funeral conglomeration that they were coming up with. We were talking about it in the discussion that you want to think that this was all meticulously laid out, but there's always a chance that they just was a happy accident. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's an amazing album that I think it kind of sails a finger in the face of convention. It's doing some different things here and there. It's not following the doom metal rules, essentially. So,
it's a very unique sound. One example of just something I love about that album too, you have a band creating a very weird, unique sound. Mm-hmm. And one of the tracks on there is called A Burial at Ornans. Mm-hmm. And I got curious about the title one day. It's just like, that's a weird title. Wonder what, what's Ornans? Is this something they've made up? Is it a real thing? I looked into it. It's based on a famous painting. And the painting at the time it came out was considered very unique and kind of controversial because it defied a lot of the rules that were popular in the painting artistic world at the time. People were very kind of like, oh, you can't compose, like that. You can't have the figures posed. You can't use that kind of, contrast and stuff. So I loved the fact that, this band that was making music in a really weird way that didn't fit the rules literally has a song that's based on a painting from like 100 years before their time that also refused to follow any of the rules of their particular medium. It's just like, yeah, these guys are doing some weird 3-dimensional chess kind of stuff, and that's cool.
Yeah. All right, Charlie, you're back.
All right. So for my next one, I should have grabbed the CD out of storage, but it's been that kind of day. I want to talk about a record that I feel like kind of there's a lot of records that break boundaries almost unintentionally. Like you marvel at the fact that it sounds like whoever was making the record had no fucking clue what they were doing, but then that's where the magic is. It's like the unintentional gold kind of thing. So I'm going to pull up a photo of it here because I forgot to get the CD out, and I apologize for that.
Oh, no
but
worries.
It's a record that you guys all know the album cover of well enough. That is on my little iPod MP3 player thing. Oh, it's going to be too blurry. Into the Pandemonium by Celtic Frost.
Oh, yeah.
I've had a full circle moment with this album. It used to be where I dropped off and where I stopped caring. Like, I didn't care about this record for the longest time. But I've been listening to it, over the last couple weeks during work. And something in it just clicked. And, like, the whole vision made sense. Almost because I wasn't trying to study it too closely. And then once it clicked for me, I went back and I started, going through the lyrics and really paying attention to the songs again and just marveling at how bizarre and accidentally genius the record feels. It's not nearly their best thing. And I mean, I love all the Triptychon stuff more than I like this record, but
Well, Monotheist crushes anyway. Go ahead.
yeah, you're right. Exactly. But, it really is just like a marvel. And I'm so glad that record exists. Even like Mexican radio puts a smile on my face. I know.
Oh, the rage. And when I bought that tape, when it came out, I took it out and threw it across the room. Like, what the fuck is this shit? Mexican radio, really? The first song?
The first
really?
song.
Fuck off.
But also think about how punk rock that is. Because like how many of those bands at the time were being forced to put a song, like a cover song on their album that was supposed to be the thing that got them traction in whatever markets they were failing in. And I mean, I wasn't alive at the time that record came out, but I feel like Mexican radio was not a song that I hear my parents talk about listening to, So for them to do that whole thing that everybody was being forced to do, and then kind of almost using it to throw a middle finger at that convention, and then
probably the label too,
right, and throwing a middle finger at the label.
They were forced to do that cover?
I mean, I don't know if they were forced to do that cover, but many labels.
I don't think they were.
were.
I think they got. I don't know if they were being forced to do a cover, but I think they did get to at least choose. Wall of Voodoo was their choice.
Yeah, which I think is
something that
punk.
Noise told them to do.
I think their choice is really crazy.
Yeah, it's adjacent in the scene-wise to Christian Death, who was clearly a huge influence at that point.
Yeah.
That might be the case. I'm not super well versed in all of that music, but just starting on that note and then where the record goes from there is such an insane. It's psychedelic, too.
It's groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I've started having fun with it. And that's probably I need to go get checked into a facility somewhere. But I don't know. It's just been in rotation lately. And yeah. But I feel like a lot of the things that happened later in the record were unintentionally profound achievements. It sounds weirdly ham-fisted at times and like it shouldn't work, but it does. I don't know. And there's like a unique marvel to that. Yeah. And I think in that way,
they definitely had a grand vision, but very limited means to make it come true. There wasn't a lot of support, and it was their first stab at doing such a thing. So yeah, what you're describing there makes perfect sense, Charlie.
Yeah, the unintentional avant-garde.
Yeah, it's like we want to be avant-garde. We want to have an orchestra. Our budget allows us to have 3 French horn players and a kazoo or something. What can we do with that? Okay, we'll make it work.
I think there's some greatness on the record, but I think there's a lot of garbage on it too. That one in their Pride song is just a go nowhere. It just doesn't do anything. And I love the what the hell's the name of the song? It's got the opera singer on it, in the cello, in the orchestra type of that's a beautiful song. I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's some great shit on it, but there's some weird choices.
Yeah,
That's
for sure.
One thing that's been commented on, and it kind of just ties back into a point that John made earlier. One of their impetuses for making the album the way it is that they really wanted to make something that would be a huge turnoff to the drunk guy in the pit, because they had been on tour a lot, like in 85 and 86, and had to deal with a lot of violence, and just thought it was incredibly stupid. And so, Tom and the other members, they really talked the last half of that tour about, what if we wrote and recorded something that almost made it impossible for people to have that reaction to the music, that we didn't have to worry about, you're going to have, 5 knuckleheads, wanting to like come up and crack skulls open. Let's write music that won't attract that element. And into the pandemonium, that was kind of, in their words, the seed for what they would eventually write with Into the Pandemonium.
All right, John's turn. What you got?
I have some very interesting conversation here going on about Celtic Frost and Venom, back to back, right, or almost back to back. Venom, of course. If you look at the back cover, as you were pointing out, who are these guys, right? Imagine seeing that in 1981. I mean, you look at it now and it's weird, but when you see that as a kid, like Tom G. Warrior did in 1981, it's hard to contextualize the effect that would have on somebody now. It's just that world doesn't exist anymore. To see that picture and then put that album on and hear that slab of revolting fucking noise, really had an effect on a lot of people. Tom G. Warrior was one of them. And then he went into the Pandemonium, and he basically laid down the weirdness gauntlet for extreme metal. It's like, well, we're a thrash metal and death metal and all that stuff was kind of interchangeable back then. Like those boundaries hadn't been, let's not get into what are the boundaries, who sets the boundaries. But they were a band that got shit on in their home country their whole career. And, there's something about getting shit on that much where you just don't give a shit anymore. You just don't give a fuck. And like, they didn't give a fuck. And you know what? They made black metal weird again, or to begin with, or in the first place.
Sure. Yeah.
So I have a couple different thoughts. I didn't really plan anything for this, but I could run and go get the vinyl, but I think I'm going to throw Discharge into the mix here, because Discharge is, again, was a huge influence on Celtic Frost in the beginning. In fact, their two biggest influences, if I'm correct about this, were Discharge, Hear Nothing, See Nothing, Say Nothing, or at least the Fight Back 7-inch, and Welcome to Hell by Venom.
Good thing it wasn't Grave New World, eh?
well, this is another connection, right? Because Grave New World, Cold Lake, Cherry Orchard,
oh, damn it! You're right. You're right.
Both bands had their like shitty '80s moment.
Yeah.
So there's a big time parallel there. But by what alchemy did Discharge come up with that fucking insanely minimalist? It's like, how do we? I don't know if you guys are really familiar with Discharge, but
I have a couple things. Yeah,
they've been one of my favorite bands since I was 16 years old. They came up with this thing that is now called D-beat, and they invented an entire genre based on this drum beat that they weren't not the first to ever do it, but they turned it into a thing, if you will. Like they fetishized this one drum beat and built a sound around it with extremely minimalist lyrics that were basically haiku or somewhat close to haiku. Like you'd have like 3 or 4 lines of lyrics per song, almost like shouting political slogans instead of lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really fast, really heavy, really grinding. If you ask any thrash metal band worth their salt in the 80s, they would list Hear Nothing, See Nothing, Say Nothing right near the top of their initial influences. Of course, thrash metal being the marriage between the heaviness of metal and the speed of hardcore punk, which was also like Discharge famously was like, well, what happens if we play Black Sabbath riffs at 300 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened. Like, you know, thrash metal, Discharge.
They inadvertently even influenced their own countrymen. Exploited went metal. GBH went metal. I mean, it's kind of interesting how that one record influenced people within, you know, stone throws distance from where they were at. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
It influenced the entire punk scene, the entire metal scene.
Yeah.
It influenced everybody. And the first time I heard that record, I was 17 years old, and I was, you know, Reagan had just been elected, and I was, you know, worried about getting fucking drafted.
Yeah.
You know, like I had to register for the fucking draft, and I'm listening to this record that sounds like there are fucking bombers flying over your head. You know, the guitar sound. And then they break out into this recording of a child screaming bloody murder after being blinded by a nuclear explosion. It's like, fuck! I would go back and forth between that album and Black Sabbath Paranoid. Just back and forth. Discharge, Hear Nothing, See Nothing, Say Nothing to Black Sabbath Paranoid. Just, you know, The Nightmare Continues to War Pigs. Back and forth, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Right on. Okay. Alan.
Let's see. So, do you like jazz? Because atheists liked jazz. And yeah, we had, even, you know, early in the Floridian death metal scene, now we kind of think of that as like its own sound. You can just say Florida death metal, and it's a shortcut. It's shorthand for a particular type of death metal that's very thrash based and such. But some bands early in that scene started doing their own thing very, very quickly, and Atheist is a perfect example of that. Oh, I chose Piece of Time just because at this point, yes, you know, they still have a lot of those basic elements, but even here, they're already doing such weird stuff compared to everyone else around them. Part of it's, you know, influences and just having guys with insane technical skills who didn't necessarily always see eye to eye. This band was famous for a lot of infighting and a lot of tension behind the scenes, but they were able to still make some just crazy music that only got crazier. Yeah, I mean, for most bands, an album as obtuse as Piece of Time would be completely out of their ken. It's just not going to happen. This is the tamest thing Atheist did. After this, they only ratcheted up the oddness. Unquestionable Presence is a ridiculous album to try to listen to and follow through. It's one it took me a long time to wrap my head around Unquestionable Presence. And when it finally clicked, I fell in love with the album. And then Elements just moves on from there. And Elements, I still have trouble wrapping my head around sometimes. It's like they just
Same.
kept doing even weird. It's like, okay, we're arguably the weirdest death metal band going, but how do we make it even weirder next go round? And they only, you know, had 3 go rounds at the time before things imploded, but all 3 of them are just, you know, amazing examples of what you could do with death metal even at that early stage. You didn't have to wait for death metal to exist for 10, 20 years. You didn't have to wait for an entire new generation to bring in some new influence. It was there right from the very start. Atheist was already doing the groundwork on how you could very, very seamlessly fuse in these kind of, you know, jazz and jam type influences and make it part of the fabric of the music. It wasn't just the Opeth pattern of now we'll play a slow part, now we'll play a fast part, now we'll play a slow part, now we'll play a fast part. It wasn't like here's the 2 minutes of jazz and here's the 2 minutes of death metal. It's all mixed together. It's perfectly woven throughout Atheist. Those are the bands that really get interesting when they can take those influences and build it into the music and not just jump back and forth between turning it on, turning it off. So yeah, I figured Atheist. There are others too, and maybe some of us will touch on some of the other early death metal bands that also went in really strange and weird directions. But Atheist is usually the first one I reach for, at least these days.
All right, we lost John. Well, I'm sure he'll come back. He can do it. A grizzly has not eaten him yet, folks. So, Alan, keep an eye on him coming back in if he comes in when I'm rambling.
I'll get him back in. Yeah, and if there's a bear at his back door right now and he's having to deal with it, you're going to feel really ashamed of yourself for that joke.
He can slay the bear easily with his riffs. He just has to brandish that Les Paul he's got hanging on the wall. It'll be fine. All right. We talked about Venom, talked about Celtic Frost. I actually picked Hellhammer in this. Celtic Frost in the Pandemonium is the obvious one. And this one here, this contains their demos, Satanic Rites and Triumph of Death and Death Fiend. So it's got all their demos on here, which all happened in 1983. And, when this stuff came out, you do want to talk about defying convention. Yeah, you can hear the Venom influence on here. But where does this live? This is before, I guess at this point Venom did coin the term black metal, but I don't think it was really an active way to describe metal at this point, satanic metal. But, this isn't thrash metal. Thrash metal is doing its thing around this time. It's a weird form of heavy metal. It's got punk. You could tell these guys are just kids doing their best to play their instruments whichever way, however they could. And, these were recorded in their rehearsal bunker. They rehearsed in a World War II bunker. And, you listen to this shit and you can almost taste the black mold on the walls. This just has that aura and stripped down, primitive. A feel of necessity comes out of this. These guys had to make this music. And I think it's very influential, but on the same token, I think when this came out, a lot of people panned it, in the, was it Kerrang famously, lampooned or harpooned, this
Or
shit
both.
is garbage. Yeah. And where do you put it? And it's revisionist history. People listen to it now like, The Godfathers. At the time when this came out, they were lucky they even continued onward, to be honest. So
Yeah, for a decade or more, it was the standard bearer for crappy music and heavy metal.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been making the rounds, like the review of like that with like the first Bathory record and like all of those classic foundational records that were just so panned at their release. And yeah, the black mold thing is I feel that because I actually right back here, I should grab it. I have the do either of y'all have that book that he released?
Only Death is Real.
Only Death is Real.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And how
I thought you were going to say I got some black mold back here. I was going to say, does it make you go,
No, I do too. I haven't turned on the dehumidifier in a while, but still learning.
Yeah, that book's supposed to be I think Decibel's supposed to, or Bazillion Point. Someone's reissuing that later in the year, or at least they're working on it.
It's incredible. If you don't have a copy, if anybody doesn't have a copy of it, highly recommend picking it up. It's a humbling look back at the beginnings of everything. It's and all of the stuff about Hellhammer and the living conditions that they were all in, as well as the rehearsal conditions. It's like,
and his family situation was shitty. His mom was an animal hoarder,
right? With all the cats, and
he needed the band practice to get away from that.
Yeah, the pink eye.
Yeah. All right. I'm texting John here, and Charlie, I'll put you up. It's your turn.
Okay. Well. I will go ahead and keep it old school. Where is it? One moment. We've talked a lot about this band already tonight, but it was coming. Let's talk about the Satanic Panic and the enduring power of not just these two records, but many of the other records in the Merciful Fate and King Diamond discography. I really want to focus on Don't Break the Oath. I mean, as we've talked about, probably the best album cover of all time. It's got to be up there.
It's in the conversation at the very least.
Iconic.
I think that there's things that are, musically, there's a lineage with projects like Judas Priest and, of course, like a heavy Thin Lizzy influence in the way that the guitars are recorded and performed on these two albums in particular. But I think that when you're talking about things that are groundbreaking, it's really hard to have the perspective today on just how scary that music was to so many people.
Very scary. That Don't Break the Oath scared the shit out of the lyrics. It felt like an authentic satanic Sabbath or ritual or whatever. It was creepy, man.
I mean, like I still get chills, like even as somebody that discovered this, when I was a teenager. But when it's "Oh hail Satan," and like there's been nobody that's talked about Satan that made me feel quite as spooked.
It's almost like you knew the guy.
right. Like he's just waving at him. But I don't know. And for how classic and kind of like rock and roll a lot of these early metal records may sound in the context of all the crazy shit that comes out today, the heart and the feeling that's in all of the performances here, it still rings so true, and it is so timeless across any kind of genre or convention. And were they the first to do it? No. There are bands from the 60s like Albert Brown's material, and even like the early psych rock of 13th Floor Elevators that explores those kind of occult satanic themes very overtly. But when we're talking heavy metal and we're talking poignancy and just breaking ground for a lot of other acts to follow, I don't know, just can't beat these.
Right on. Iconic.
What more can be said?
All hail Satan.
Yes, Satan.
You're back.
I'm sorry. My technology failed, man.
Should have plugged it into that synth back there. You could have done some wires and it'd have been fucking perfect.
No worries at all.
I need an adapter. For my rack. My computer just shut down out of the blue, like bloom, shut down. So, and it said it was out of battery, so I like plugged it into with a wall charger. Hopefully that solves the issue. What did I miss?
Hellhammer and Merciful Fate.
Merciful Fate. You know what? When I first heard Black Funeral, I couldn't stop screaming that at the top of my lungs. All hail Satan! Yes, hail Satan! And all my punk rock friends thought I was an idiot. They probably still do.
Your turn, John. You're up.
All right. Well, I'm going to do one from my personal experience, and it's cheating. All right. But I'm going to do the Grind Crusher comp.
Oh, cool.
That was put up at Earache Records. I first got a copy of it in, I believe it was 1988, 89. Somebody go on to the Oracle and confirm that. The Grind Crusher comp had Morbid Angel, Carcass, Entombed, and Godflesh. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was Earache's like big first sampler, right? And when I heard, that's the first time I ever heard a blast beat, ever, was on Grind Crusher. It was, Morbid Angel had a couple of songs from Altars of Madness, which deserves to be on my list as well. But that was like a whole new world opened up to me when I heard that. It was like, okay, so this is like, I had gotten out of punk rock. Like, I was in hardcore in the 80s. And as we all know, that scene burned very brightly and then burned out very quickly, as is illustrated by what happened with Discharge and other bands like SSD Control. I'm looking at you. But when that came out, it was, to me, I I had gone and started listening to old shit like Jimi Hendrix and early Scorpions, and like I was discovering shit like you know, Led Zeppelin. Like as a punk rocker, I had never heard Led Zeppelin really. So when that came out, I'm like, shit, people are taking this thing with that we had started with hardcore, which is extremity in music, and they've taken it further. Napalm Death was on that.
Yep.
Early Napalm Death, early Carcass, early Morbid Angel, Entombed, and Godflesh. I was on tour with this like alcohol-powered fucking rock and roll band that played. It was called Osgood Slaughter, and I got that cassette in New York on this tour, and I put it on, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is fucking! What is this shit? This is a whole new scene. I didn't know about this." And they're like, "Shut that shit off, Cobbott. That ain't fucking rock and roll." So I was off to the races. I was at the record store as soon as we got home, like looking for Entombed, Carcass, Morbid Angel, you know, Ultras of Madness, Left Hand Path, Scum by Napalm Death. To me, that was a watershed moment in extreme music.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if that counts because it's a comp, but
Oh no, that's so counts.
Perfect. All right, Alan.
All right, let's see. This one has a little weird. It kind of has a weird setup, like Merciful Fate that Charlie just talked about, in terms of having this guitar duo that is just sublime. Very few come close to these guys. It's a Psychotic Waltz. This is a classic tale of a band being in the wrong place at the wrong time, because Psychotic Waltz was in basically Southern California in the early to mid 1990s. And that was not the time or place to try to play this style of metal, although it does beg the question of what style of metal were they trying to play? And that is not an easy thing to play to pin down. There's a strong influence from stuff like Fate's Warning from the 80s, Queensryche a little bit, but they definitely add all their own components to it. You would never mistake a Psychotic Waltz album for, that's maybe some Fate's Warning or Queensryche thing I've never heard. It's just not going to happen. They had this insane guitar duo, Brian McAlpine and Dan Rock, who play off of each other exactly the way, Denner and Sherman could play off of one another in Merciful Fate. Buddy Lackey's the vocalist. He's got a very unique voice. Once again, he doesn't really sound like anybody else. And the style of music they're writing, it's challenging. But it's also has a traditional heavy metal template to it. You can hear things like, they might have started with like early Fate's Warning, but they're keep changing the time signature more than you can keep up with. The songs are either very long or very short, and then there's flute solos. Stylistically, it's very, very difficult to ever pin this band down. But the music turns out absolutely fantastic. So, of course, it was a huge flop. They developed an underground following over the years. They were popular in Europe and other territories. Never had much of a foothold in the US. They stuck around. They got 4 albums out in their original run. Each one's, of course, a little different. They're not 2 albums that follow the exact same pattern as you'd expect with an artist like this. The one I'm waving around here is album number 3, called Mosquito, which is the one that leans the most accessible. I think most people would say the debut, A Social Grace, is probably the most obtuse, hardest one to wrap your head around. And then the other 2 are, somewhere between that and this in terms of how easy it is to comprehend them. But yeah, they've become a favorite for folks who really get into the more weird and unique bands. This catalog is still loved by a lot of folks. It finally got a reissue. All 4 albums were reissued, I think, 2 years ago. The reissues are a little expensive, but it's a heck of a lot better than tracking down and paying what the albums were selling for before that on the secondary market. But yeah, in another time, in another place, Psychotic Waltz could, in theory, have gained some traction and visibility and been a bigger player on a scene. But trying to break this traditional heavy metal sound that's now infused with these other very challenging, musically adept influences in the United States at the same time that Biohazard and Pantera were all the rage, that wasn't happening. It just, bless their hearts, but they were kind of doomed from the start. But they still left a really cool musical legacy behind, and they're active again. Their comeback album is actually one of the better comeback albums of recent years, in my opinion.
Yes,
so
John.
that's
a question.
Oh yeah,
Miss Takata.
Sorry.
I have two questions, follow-up questions for you about that. Do you think that they perhaps were unfortunately named as a band?
It's probably one of those names that doesn't help if people just hear it. It doesn't scream metal, and it doesn't necessarily scream heavy. It kind of screams, what would that sound like? What's with the weird
boys
name?
and girls of every age?
Say the cover artwork and the logo couldn't have been a problem either. I mean, on that particular release. Yeah.
Yep.
And my other follow-up question on that is, where do they slot in with Alice in Chains, for example? Because you know what I'm getting at. Like, there seems to be a correlation in my mind. Absolutely. First of all, Psychotic Waltz, absolutely beautiful, brilliant band. But I always had this feeling that perhaps they were more of an influence on some of their grunge contemporaries than they get credit for. But I have my chronology off here, so I submitting that to the floor.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, that's for Alice in Chains had, and kind of like we talked about earlier. There's a band that got the push. Psychotic Waltz didn't get the push, but there is a parallel timeline where their roles could have been reversed for just a little bit. But yeah, I don't think Psychotic Waltz has as much of the quote unquote grunge sound. And even Alice in Chains, I mean, they're very much tied to that scene, but I think they're a little atypical for the grunge sound. But so maybe ones like, but there are, in terms of the guitar harmonies and the unique vocal phrasings. There are some parallels there for sure. That's interesting. I hadn't really thought of that before because I'm late. Alice in Chains, I'm a little late to because, and by a little late I mean like 20 years. I always had a grudge against Alice in Chains because they were one of those bands that Metallica started hyping about the time Metallica turned to crap. And so it's just like, oh, well, if they want to take Alice in Chains on tour, that's not a band I need to listen to.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm wrong. I can admit it. But
I always thought Alice in Chains, if you took away like the time and place when they came out, I mean, they were a hell of a good fucking like doom metal band.
Could have been.
If you take away all the grunge, the shorts and the jerseys and all that stuff. I mean, that song, the Rooster song, whatever it's called. Here comes
that one does.
That is a beautiful, beautiful song.
That whole album is fantastic. It's really, kind of a perfect record. It's a great rock record.
Yeah.
Let's get Lane Staley like in a big monk's robe and like a big afro hairdo and just put him on tour with Candlemass.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. You're right. Some of those songs definitely do have that kind of component. And those tend to be the songs I really like by them a lot. The ones that lean into that.
Yeah. I'm not sure where the timeline is there, but like, did Psychotic Waltz come along like pre-grunge or post-grunge?
They were definitely active pre-grunge because they had a band before they changed the name to Psychotic Waltz. And I think the demos for that go back to about 87 or 89. So they would have been coming up around the same time that Soundgarden and such would have been early on their scene.
It was a weird time. You had bands like Scatterbrain, Infectious Grooves, Alice
Here Comes
in
Trouble,
Chains, Faith No More. It was a strange time, like pre-grunge, like post-thrash, Primus. A lot of like, I remember going to see Mordred and they had a turntablist.
Yeah.
There were all those thrash funk bands like
Yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers coming out. Like everybody thought thrash funk was going to be the new thing. Like fucking Decca Funkapus and the Limbo Maniacs in San Francisco.
Mind Funk.
Anyway, Mind Funk. Yeah, man. There was a lot of weird stuff going on right around then.
Yeah.
Sorry for the interjection there.
Oh, no, good question. Yeah, and Entropics is saying that, the Psychotic Waltz demo was out by 88. And
that predates
Oh, yeah,
it.
as they had their project Aslan had a demo in 87, which is a lot of the same guys, maybe all the same guys. So, yeah, they were there. They could have, for just a little bit, have been an influence on the grunge scene. They could have been even sucked into that if they had tweaked their sound just a little bit. It wouldn't have taken much.
And their look.
And the look.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, denim cutoffs. Flannel shirt around the waist.
Yep.
Move a few hundred miles north and just buy the right shirt, get the right publicist, and you could have been the band Metallica took out on tour with them.
Wasn't the term grunge made by a publicist? I think so. I think I saw a thing about that.
Was it?
Sounds right, but I
think
don't
so.
know the history of. I don't know all the details on.
Or
grunge.
someone in a magazine or a publicist. I don't remember, but it took off. I mean, everybody's looking for a tag to throw something underneath.
Yep. What do we call these kids?
It was metal, but on the heels of the whole hair metal, as it's called now, metal was a fucking dirty word. If you remember this, metal was a fucking dirty word for many, many years.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would have people come over to my house back in those days in the 90s and see all the metal records in my collection and go, "Oh, you're into metal? But I thought you were smart."
My mom and dad
literally,
still tell
I had
me
a girl
that.
say that to me once. Yeah.
Yep.
My friends who are into metal still say that to me too.
Yeah.
They tried to warn me.
All right. Next on the pile, I think John mentioned him earlier in the evening, but Ved Buenos Ende with Written in Waters.
There it is.
This album, I think it's hard for a lot of people because these guys really do kind of upset the apple cart, so to speak. That the Norwegian scene had such a vibrant, unique sound, and it was very much a sound all its own, a very strong geographical style and sound, influenced by their folk music. And, this here took that. It lives within that realm quite comfortably, but the avant-garde, there's a sense of freedom to this record that it seems like it was made to challenge that, stereotype. I don't remember exactly what year this came out, but there was such an explosion. A lot of bands were saying true Norwegian black metal from Argentina, shit like that. And this is almost like a statement showing that it doesn't just have to sound a certain way. And this is, again, a very obtuse avant-garde. You can maybe blame Celtic Frost a bit for this. Maybe there's some Into the Pandemonium isms that seeped into this style, but it's a very downtrodden, mopey singing style. It isn't always all traditional, black metal screaming. There's very strange, clean vocals and, avant-garde pieces of music. They doesn't always shift and flow the same way everything that in Norway did at the time. So, yeah, this is one of those special bands that I think, rightfully so, maybe a lot of people didn't get it, but the people that do get it, you do kind of realize how special this thing is. And, this band broke up and reformed as another project called Virus, which is equally fucking sweet.
Yeah.
It's a lot like this. Maybe at times it pulls in some more, I don't want to say commercial, but it maybe feels a little bit more, like an alternative influence in with the Ved Buenos. I don't know. It's hard to explain. That I could have probably pulled Virus as well. That would have, like that Carhartt album. That thing it's so good and so interesting, and it maintains the blueprint that this set forth. Maybe a little less metal at times, other times more metal. I don't know. But Ved Buenos Ende was on my list. Had to be talked about tonight.
Yeah, you want to talk about an album that is an entire world. I think that a lot of the people that I talked to about that record, you know, they've always had reservations about it, but I really feel like it's an amazing album too.
Yeah.
It doesn't just sound like they're experimenting for the sake of whatever. It's a cohesive vision, and that part of it,
fully realized vision too. It doesn't sound like they're trying to get there. They're there.
They are
know?
there,
Yeah.
and for them to just come out with that record the way I that is like one of those weird, eerie records that's hard to know how it came about. I mean, like, yeah, there's influences, like people are mentioning Voivod. I think Voivod's really an influence on anybody who is forward thinking and avant-garde within that realm. But I don't know. There's like an alien nature to the way that somebody thought to make that album that makes it off-putting and almost scary, because it's like there's this unrecognizable spiritual core to it that can't be easily explained by the things around it. And I think it's a very, I don't want to say underrated, but I find myself liking that record more than a lot of the people that
it's often overlooked. It's not in many conversations, you know, like a lot of the other bands from that era in that location. It just isn't in the conversation, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very different. And it's really the only thing they released, isn't it?
Well, they had the
Written Waters or whatever. But that's
this, and then there was the demo put on LP and CD too. I can't.
Was it
remember the
Those
name
Who
of-
Caress the Pale?
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fucking great too.
Yeah.
All right, Charlie, you're up.
So I'm gonna pull up another album on my little digital audio player here, that I think is a great segue from Fed Buenzende, but it also is an album that reminds me a lot of Ordo Ad Chao now that I think of it. And that is Dodheimsgard. And I'm just going to hold this album cover up. I'm sorry it's so blurry, everybody. The screen on this thing is small.
No worries.
I grabbed
Marty,
these
did you
two.
pull that record too?
No, I didn't. I don't have. That's only one of theirs. I don't have the new one either. But 666 International and Super Villain Outcast. I pulled.
Okay, well, the one that I pulled up is A Umbra Omega.
Yep.
That's probably my favorite of their records. It's probably the weirdest too. But you want to talk about one of those bands that just reinvents itself every single album.
Yeah.
And I understand that a lot of people find Dodheimsgard to be a very intimidating project to get into, the same way that I think a lot of people find Bluthaus Nord to be intimidating. Because if you step into their catalog with the wrong record, the wrong version, the wrong incarnation, the wrong sound, is that going to be the thing that off-puts you from your consideration of everything else that they've done? And this was not my first Dodheimsgard record. Kronet til Konga, or however you say it.
That's my favorite album of theirs. I
Oh
love
my
that
God.
record.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's also a perfect record.
And people don't talk about that one either. Really.
Yeah. That's I don't even know what I can say about Dodheimsgard at this point. I think to reinvent themselves so tirelessly, and whether I connect with every single record or not, every single record feels like a complete statement and like an authentic expression.
Yeah.
It's baffling to me. I think I connect with Umbra Omega because it has this really strange, organic and dry sound that is claustrophobic, and it feels like everything's near to you when you're hearing it through the speakers. But it's also just doing this really psychedelic, expansive, universal thing. I don't know. It feels like you're peering through the looking glass into like a galaxy beyond your comprehension. And they're a band that does that time and time again on every single album.
Yeah.
They just create space. And yeah, I don't know if anybody has ever skipped out on Umbra Omega because it looks like a generic shitty post-metal album. Please, for the love of God, just like pull up another cooler looking album cover on your screen and listen to that one.
Like Iron Maiden's Killers, or you put that on and listen
to that on and listen to this. It's fucking amazing. It's truly, I think, in a discography that is not talked about enough, that is an album, especially in the 2010s when it came out, that is so unbelievably slept on and underappreciated. it's like, yeah, I just want to scream from the rooftops about how much I love that band, and that record in particular is just, it's baffling. It's amazing.
All right. Good one.
Good
John.
choice, Charlie.
Vedwin's End. I bought that record when it came out, and I was at Aquarius Records, and they had it. I took it to the counter, and the guy was like, "Oh man, it's like a black metal version of Slint." And I'm like, "Who's Slint?"
Right.
But I've known that record for a very long time, and it's really, really super, super underrated how much influence that record has had on black metal going forward, particularly DSO and bands that have gone on to be like orthodox black metal. It's like, how often do you hear in black metal now those semi dissonant chords back swept?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
picked from the top back down,
Yep.
pitch wise, strummed backwards in effect. Like you hear that all over like shit, like Portal,
Blue Dawson Nord.
Yeah. You hear that everywhere now, and that came from that album. And any kind of like black metal, that so much of the black metal that's come out since that it's purported to be avant-garde or experimental is really pulling from Vedwin's End. I mean, I've seen it again and again and again. So, with that said, I guess I'm the guy who's got to bring up Ulver.
Ah,
There you go. Yeah.
Now,
Shit, I totally forgot to pull them. That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
like, look, people, the first album is like, fucking antler metal. It's like proto antler metal.
Oh, but it's so good.
It's wonderful. It's beautiful. Yes.
Antler metal.
You know what I mean by antler
Oh,
metal?
yeah, I know
yeah.
what you mean.
You
I know what
live
you
in
mean.
Portland. You know what antler metal
yeah, they just put those antlers back up. By the way,
is. Yeah.
those antlers were taken down for a long time. It's true. Not to go on a
Yeah.
tangent, but the literal deer from the mantle was like
Yeah.
a public statue that was taken down, and like just a couple months ago they put this statue back up in the square in downtown. So can't wait
Yeah.
for people to make selfies with it and stuff.
Dude, antler metal is a thing. If you live in the Pacific Northwest, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
God damn it. God damn it.
But yeah, I mean, it's my, one could postulate that the first Ulver album is the ancestor of all antler metal. Okay, let me just put that out there to the floor. The second album by Ulver is acoustic. It's all just acoustic with like plain chant singing. Beautiful, like no vibrato, just but perfectly in pitch, almost like a Gregorian type singing. The third album is one of my favorite albums of all fucking time. And that is Nadin's Madrigal.
That's not antler metal.
No.
No.
Antlers were
this-
used in the making of this metal.
Yeah, this was the first Transylvanian. This was the first. You know how, like, when I first heard Sleep, I was like, holy shit, that's Black Sabbath, but it's so fucking cool. Like, they did this thing that was totally Black Sabbath, but it totally wasn't. It was like Sleep, like it's new, right? It's a strange thing, right? I think that in a certain way you could say that Nadin's Madrigal did that with Transylvanian Hunger. They took the Transylvanian Hunger blueprint and they just ratcheted it up to 11.
They made them. The riffs are way more complex. But yeah,
Beautiful though, beautiful
beautiful
Just
melody lines.
gorgeous.
Holy
Yeah.
shit! Yeah,
Just gorgeous riffs, but the album sounds like you're turning on a fucking vacuum cleaner.
yeah.
I mean,
A
it
broken
sounds-
dustbuster.
It sounds like a fucking grinder, like it's so harsh, but it's so beautiful, and I absolutely adore this album. It's one of my absolute favorites, and they did all this stuff in I don't know how many years they do. They invented antler metal. They did they invented neofolk, and then they invented Dark Throne Transylvanian Hunger Worship. They invented generic lo-fi black metal, right?
They didn't invent neofolk. I think neofolk was there and doing just fine before Ulver.
Hey, look, I'm guilty of my Death in June and Current 93 records. Yeah.
Well, shit rules. Yeah.
But yeah, I kid. They didn't invent neofolk, but
No.
they did do that thing where it's like we're a black metal band, but we're gonna do an entirely acoustic record.
Yeah.
And it's gonna have beautiful vocals, but then what did they do?
They liked Depeche Mode as well.
They went but here's the thing, man. They like totally lost me on the subsequent album. I couldn't even listen to it. It was like Portishead.
Oh, Perdition City, was that the name of it?
Yeah, I did not fucking.
Man, people
like
love that record. I never got it, man. I'm like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, as a fan, like, look, I know this may be a little bit, this is debatable, but as a fan, like, I didn't like it. I didn't like that Portishead thing. It wasn't what I was. It wasn't what I was going to Ulver for.
Right.
Which is why I'm very sympathetic to anybody who's like, well, I like the August Engine, but I don't like, Overtaker. Like, I get that, man. Like, Ulver did that to me. I understand. Like, I don't come to this band even though every album they had put out of their first three were all different from one another. So it made sense. You know what I'm saying? That they totally changed, but I didn't like the direction.
Yeah.
But you wanted to talk about pushing my boundaries. I felt like my boundaries got pushed with that album. Like,
hell yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, this is like, I work in a nightclub. I have to listen to Portishead and shit like that all night long, at my job, techno and shit. Like, when I go to buy metal albums, like, that's not what I'm shopping for. So
yeah,
I'm deeply sympathetic with fans who are uncomfortable with some of these, radical changes. It's just that Ulver with their fourth album lost me. But they do fit in very well with tonight's topic of discussion.
Agreed.
So I will open that to the floor. That's just my experience.
Yeah. No, I liked the fourth album, the William Blake album, but after that, right around the turn of the century, they got into that whole making soundtracks period in their career. And that stuff, that's where I quickly lost interest with, like, lycanthropian themes and Silence Teaches You How to Sing. Just like, is Garm going to sing at any point? No, he's not. Okay. Are you going to do anything? So I got lost pretty quickly there too. I've been checking out some of their more recent stuff in the past year or so, and some of it's pretty interesting and good. But I also as they just got too minimalist for me especially like the Lycanthropian Themes album. I never could understand, like, what is this supposed to do? There's so little music going on here.
Did they go into like a 70s prog phase at one point too? Because I think I saw them at Roadburn one year, and they had like Hammond B3s and Rhodes electric pianos and stuff. Like, it was like a Pink Floyd type setup. And you know what? I'm sure that they're incredible musicians. They're incredibly talented, and everything they do is fantastic. If it's your cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I know they were incorporating some of that kind of stuff around like the Blood Inside era. That definitely has a proggy component to some of the stuff on there. They get pretty out there, but I'm still filling in some of the gaps. So I don't know all this stuff. Someone in the chat might know if they had one or two albums that really went in that direction.
They seem to be, what they became was a good crossover for metalheads expand into other subgenres of music. But I couldn't. I'm with you, John. I couldn't go where they were wanting to take me. The William Blake thing I checked out on and haven't really looked back. I checked some other things here and there, and nope, not for me. Just isn't for me.
But Marty, they've got a pumpkin on one of their albums.
Yeah.
Oh,
don't worry. I've got a pumpkin to talk about believe it or not, I worked one in tonight.
Oh, come on. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
All right, Alan.
Oh, it's my turn. Sorry.
Yep.
Okay. This band we mentioned earlier because they were at Fire in the Mountains recently. Psy from Japan. This band to me is kind of the definition for does not stick to any known convention. They just come up with their own thing, and on the next album they will probably come up with something completely different. They rarely repeat themselves even within a song or within an album, and certainly not between two albums. And another band that spawned out of that early second wave black metal scene. And they were good at that style. I really like Scorn Defeat and the stuff around that time. But they evolved out of it very rapidly over the next couple of releases. And a lot of these early releases, if folks haven't seen, have been reissued this year. So you can finally get some of these without spending 6 months and $50 per album for them. But yeah, they brought in so many different influences.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing it before this one, but Hail Horror Hail is usually my go-to when we talk about Psy really starting to embrace their inner weirdness. Now, here was a band that also wanted to start doing soundtrack stuff like Ulver that we were just talking about. But whereas Ulver did it like in this very minimalist kind of approach, Psy was like, no, we're going to like incorporate all these weird composers from the early 20th century and actually write scores and have all these kind of components to it. And just, I think Charlie used the phrase earlier, you're just going to keep throwing stuff at the wall and see what happens. And it turns out pretty brilliant more often than not. I really enjoyed most of the stuff in the Psy catalog. Hail Horror Hail has that soundtrack featured to it for sure. I mean, and it changes so much from section to section. You'll have this interesting classical component, and 2 minutes later you're hearing a dog whimper as he's like scratching at a screen door or something. That moment still throws me a little bit in this album. I'm just like, hey puppy, what you doing?
Trying to get to the dog and pony show.
I guess that's why the dog sounds sad. He can't find the pony. The pony's out back being decorated up for something else. But I do think one of the things that really makes Psy work really well for me, at least, is that even though you've got so many different things that get thrown into the pot every time, there's always a really strong metal undercurrent to it. They never completely abandon heavy metal the way that Ulver did. They're never going completely out into other fields and leaving the past behind. Psy, they still, one of their big ones is Venom. They still want to go back and do the Venom covers because that's where they come from and that's what they love. And it may be buried somewhere under a lot of layers of other weirdness going on, but there's always that kind of thrashy early black metal sound buried in there, which is really cool. And it's a challenging band, but I like them a lot. And we got a new Psy album, I think, in early September. So, and there's once again, the lineup is shifted around. He changes the players very regularly. What's it going to sound like? Who the hell knows? But I am really, really excited to find out later this year. So,
all right,
that is Psy.
I think this is kind of a weird pick, but this is one of these bands that always, like, talk about defying convention. Where do you even put a band like Prong?
I don't know, but if you try, I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. The only way I can really describe this band is the 90s. I know that's kind of a vague explanation, but they come out of the New York scene. I believe Tommy Victor used to do a lot of, he was the sound guy for CBGBs and one of the sound guys. So, the hardcore, New York hardcore is kind of a part of this, but there's just enough metal going on to kind of put you off scent a little bit. I don't know. I always, I picked this one up first when I was a kid on tape. I recently just picked these up via Whatnot for $5 a piece. I'm like, oh, I've always had those on tape. I want to re-listen to them. And, they're pretty stripped down and kind of barren and easily forgettable, but there's enough nostalgia here that I keep wanting to return to it. And they're very simplistic, very cold, dry guitar tone, maybe a little Pantera-ish in the guitar tone, that really tight, stiff kind of 90s. It's a 90s sound.
Yep.
Yeah, Ted Parsons, I believe on this one, prove you wrong. Or beg to differ. Sorry. Beg to differ. You got the pus head cover artwork. My teenage brain wanted to, or I was beyond teenager at this point. I wanted to put them into the thrash box, but they just didn't fit in the thrash box. They could be in the thrash box, but they never seemed right. How a band like this these are on Epic Records, major label. And, it wasn't until their album Cleansing came out, the Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck. That's where they started to get a little bit more catchy, a little bit more layered. They had Paul Raven on bass from Killing Joke in the band, I believe. Rest in peace to that guy. And there was just something, they got a little bit more catchy, I guess, on that record. That to me felt a little bit more like a major label type release. But, these lead up records, they're fine. They're good. Very 90s. And again, it's borrowing from metal, it's borrowing from hardcore, and it isn't as exciting or explosive as you want it to be. You know what I mean? It just doesn't, it never really kicks up the intensity or the speed. They kind of lope along in a mid-paced kind of grooviness at times. I don't know. They defy convention, and I still like them, but they're still cranking out records and touring. I haven't heard a damn thing after Rude Awakening, so I couldn't tell you, but I would imagine it hasn't evolved much. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong here. All right, Charlie.
Well, you can always find out. And how many records is it? Like they've put out, I feel like they've put out like, I'm gonna have no shame in Metal Archives this.
They had like 4 or 5 of them in the used bin at my local shop, and by the time I said I'll check them out, they were gone. So
they're like, for me, like
them.
them in a CD section is like Linda Ronstadt in a used vinyl section. Like she's always gonna be there.
or Crocus. You go to any garage sale or flea market, there's Crocus records.
There's Crocus records. They're like that for me. And maybe it's just like growing up in Texas, you see records like that everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about, how many of these? I'm going to knock out a bunch of them all at once by talking about a specific musician who is a friend of mine. Yeah, there we go. I want to talk about the work of a very special, wonderful human named Ryan Clackner, because I think he typifies with a lot of his projects a really, really unique crossover of sounds and really boundary breaking sort of ethos that I have a lot of appreciation for as somebody that's from the South. Ryan Clackner, he's the mastermind behind countless projects. A couple here that I have. We got Vile Haint. He's based out of the Knoxville, Tennessee area. His Vile Haint records are incredible. He's most well known for this project, though, Primeval Well. So there's the first Primeval Well record.
Me and the guys in the band could never remember the name of the band, so we called him Primordial Ooze. It was really hard when I finally met him not to say Primordial Ooze.
Right.
Yeah.
This record is an absolute masterpiece, Talking in Tongues with Mountain Spirits.
Yeah, good shit.
And then I think the one that is probably the most idiosyncratic and boundary pushing, John, I feel like you in particular would adore this record if you haven't heard it yet. This is Crestfallen Dusk. And I picked this up because it was described as black metal meets the blues of Junior Kimbrough in a shed out back. It sounds like it's being played through like a little Fender Champ amp with like a blues breaker pedal and just a tinge of distortion, but it's vicious and visceral. And I mean, when it comes to these kind of bands that mix, you know, bluegrass and country music with metal, you know, obviously there's Panopticon, but Ryan does it in his own way that is completely unique.
Yeah.
And it's bluegrass and it's country and it's blues and all of these like very specific reference points with his songwriting and with his tones that he chooses and the layouts of everything. I don't know. Just he's another one of those guys that you look at the volume of material that he puts out on like a yearly basis, and you might not just be intimidated. You might even be a little bit skeptical. How can somebody put out that many records and have them be really well realized visions? But I mean, every single one of the records in this stack, everything by Primeval Well, everything by Vile Haint, Crestfallen Dusk. He's even got a project called Stump Tail that put out my favorite album of last year, Sonder Down Yonder, which is a concept album about meeting God, but he's the Florida man that keeps appearing in the news. I mean, he tackles this stuff with like a sense of humor and levity, but at the same time, seriousness that's just something to behold. So, I mean, everybody here, it may have heard of or be familiar with Primeval Well, but if there was one record of his that I could recommend everybody go check out to have your marbles kind of blown apart, Crestfallen Dusk. This album, it took me a very long time to even like it, but now it is just a part of my DNA. I don't know. It's one of those albums it's so boundary pushing, kind of like John was saying earlier. Like, this is a record that pushed my boundaries to where I thought it was idiosyncratic to the point of like not working, but now it just works so well for me. And it is very evocative. It's amazing. So for anybody that's not a fan of Ryan Clackner's yet, please go check out his work. Crestfallen Dusk. Primeval Well is a great psychedelic take on country infused black metal. And then Vile Haint is almost like the gothic southern black metal answer to Windeer. Like, it's all based in wives' tales and folkloric traditions and stuff like that. And, you know, it's funny. I went to Knoxville for Thanksgiving a couple of years back because my sister lived there for a while. And that folklore is very real to the people that live there. If you ever go stay in a house there, you know, they'll have like the front porch where you walk in, and they still to this day will paint the awning a color that they call haint blue.
Haint, of course, being the southern pronunciation of haunt, like their word for ghost.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
haint blue is a color that is supposed to ward off ghosts from entering your home. So that stuff is still very real.
That goes
to
right.
this day
That
for a
shit
lot of
goes right
people.
back to the Stone Age, man. That kind of shit. Like,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
yeah, it's so trippy.
So, oh man, for anybody that's not already on board, highly recommend. Incredible stuff.
All right.
Y'all, excuse me for just a moment.
Okay. Alan, you want to go?
Yeah, no problem. Let's talk about Therion.
Hey, I had him in there too.
Oh, did you? Okay, sorry.
Oh, don't be.
Yeah, I think Therion fits here in this topic pretty well.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people might miss that because I think Therion is one of those bands whose career has kind of gotten condensed to the point where we're leaving out important information. Because I think from a lot of people now, they think of Therion as like, well, they were a death metal band on the debut,
Very good.
and then they became a symphonic metal band that made a bunch of albums that all just kind of sound alike. And both of those things can be true, but there's a transition phase that spans of several albums in between that started right away, like on album number 2. You know, Of Darkness, yes, it's a perfectly solid, European death metal album, very good, has held up well. But when they came out with Beyond Sanctorum, Therion were already really messing with that formula. They were already trying to incorporate new influences and push it in a different direction. They didn't want to make Of Darkness Part 2, The Return of Therion. Christopher Johnson wanted to do something different. And I think there's a little bit of a Celtic Frost parallel here, because at that point, resources and abilities may have been a bit constrained, so he could only push Beyond Sanctorum so far. But he kept trying. Symphony Masses pushes it a little bit more. Here, you're starting to hear less of the really deeper death metal vocals. You're hearing more of this classical influence slowly creeping in. And it carries over into the next album, Lepaka Clithoff. Really leaves more of the death stuff behind. It brings in a lot more of the gothic kind of sound. There's a strong Into the Pandemonium influence that starts showing through on Lepaka Clithoff. And then even Theli, which ended up being their breakout album for the symphonic sound, that's really different from what came before it too. And, they've said multiple times in interviews, they really didn't think Theli was going to go over well. That Nuclear Blast was very nervous about what they were turning in. It's like, you sure this is the album you want to put out?
With that cover?
Yeah, that fucking stupid cover.
Hey, that was cutting edge for Windows 95 at the time.
Corel Draw, man.
But, it obviously worked out well for them in the end. That album went over great. And from there, they still made some advances, but they found their lane and went with it and have done great with it ever since. But yeah, I think people forget, how these transitional albums were quite innovative, that they really were trying to avoid repeating themselves, and they really were looking for ways to get these other influences into death metal very early. But again, some of those have been out of print a bit. Like Beyond Sanctorum doesn't have a ton of pressings for a while there. So I think for a lot of folks, again, it became just Of Darkness, Theli, death metal, symphonic metal, and it just kind of happened overnight. But the in-between albums are really interesting and actually quite enjoyable. There's a lot of cool stuff to digest on those albums in between when they were a death metal band and when they were writing, classical symphonic music.
I have never heard those transition records. I will admit, I'm really excited to check those out.
It's pretty decent. That Hodrak and Homegas is a pretty decent record. We covered it on Album Club. It's good. Yeah.
They are cool. They each sound a little different. So if you hear one and you don't like it, Charlie, the other two are going to sound a little different. Like you were saying earlier, it's not one that you want to hear one album and then just run away assuming they're all the same, because they're really not. They have their limitations at the same time too. They weren't working on big budgets or anything like that. So again, big ideas, limited resources, but sometimes you get some really cool, innovative things that happen in that scenario. So yeah, I hope you like them if you get a chance to check them out.
Well, what was it? Were you talking about your beef with Alice in Chains? My beef with Therion is that I saw them with, I saw their drummer with Opeth, and unfortunately messed up like half the songs. Oh my god, damn power metal fucking symphonic messing up my deliverance.
Just play your double bass thing for the big keyboard chorus. Go back to your power metal band.
I don't know, but that was, no. But in all seriousness, it was really interesting that they picked the drummer of Therion to do the fill in between when they kicked out Axe and when they got the new guy, Walteri Watson Fry from I don't know, but yeah, I'm gonna definitely check those records out. That's super cool.
Good deal.
All right, John, swing back to you.
Yes, I would like to ask Charlie a question. Is Crestfallen Dusk the name of the album, or is it the name of the recording artist?
It is the name of the project, and I believe it's one of those where it's just like the name of the whole deal. I don't think the album has a different name.
So if I could look that up on Bandcamp and it'll be under Crestfallen Dusk.
Yeah.
Okay, and could you just let me know what that dude's name is?
Ryan Clackner.
Clackner, yeah.
Okay, sweet. I'm going to continue with Charlie's bringing contemporaries into the conversation. And I had to go get I didn't know we were doing physical media, but
Oh, it's okay. You don't have
Oh, I guess we forgot to say it's all good. You're doing just fine, brother.
Does anybody know Fantifaxath?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fantifaxath from, I believe they're from Toronto. They're like
That's one the crowd isn't chanting at the concert. I'll tell you that. Whatever.
it's 4 syllables, right?
Yeah.
And it's one word, Fantifaxath. They are from Toronto. They're one of these bands that are anonymous. They wear hoods. I guess nobody knows who they are. Or maybe they do. I don't know. I love the mystery, you know. But man, these albums are a fucking nightmare. Jesus. Terrifying shit. It's I could put them like down the street from Krallis, maybe. But it would be a pretty weird street to be on. There's a lot of chromatic shit. They have it's a 3-piece, terrifying vocals, just really ouchy, progressive black metal, really mean, unfriendly, but beautifully executed. Now, this is where we get into we can get into this debate about art versus craft, right? These guys kind of have both, which is ask me about art versus craft. These guys have both, and it's hard for me to describe them. Like Portal is all weird, noisy and shit, and like really obscure and indecipherable, right? Fantifaxath has those qualities, but they are very, very musically coherent. Like it's dissonant, but it's not dissonant for the sake of being dissonant. It's dissonant like just the way you should do dissonance, like when it needs to be dissonant. Like and they use a lot of really strange chromatics, and they're Fantifaxath.
You mentioned Portal, and I appreciate that band, but I have a hard time ever wanting to listen to them, if that makes any sense. But would you say that do you think that's all calculated, or do you think that they leave places in their music for improvisation? Because sometimes, especially on that Ion, or what the hell is the silver with the silver cover with the lightning.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of improvisation going on. I don't know. Is it just me, or do you think that's calculated? It's actually meant to be the way it is.
It's difficult to say, isn't it? I mean, that's kind of their trip, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, this is the thing about like pushing boundaries. Like, what boundaries? Well, I mean, the boundaries of listenability, or the boundaries of the genre that you're in. I mean, how many fucking genres are there now? It's almost impossible to do anything creative without pushing somebody.
Well, today, antler metal. I mean, that's new one to me, antler metal. Fucking A. And it's perfect.
But yeah, to me, like Portal just sounds like they're just doing this. Up and down the neck, 7 strings, just a blast of noise. And if you read interviews with them, they'll like, which I haven't really, maybe a little bit, but they seem like they're really like pushing that mystique thing like to the max. They're mystique maxing, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. I love that. I love the look. I think it's fantastic. I love that they're doing what they're doing. And I think there might be a little bit of that, the utter antisocial Australian thing of the birthday party, whom I just recently learned to love in their DNA. But musically, I look for, I'm sorry, I just need some coherence. I just need to.
Me too.
Like
I need riffs.
something to hold on to, like.
Yeah.
And I've tried Portal. I've tried. Maybe I haven't
too.
tried hard enough.
It's very alienating music because there is that element of, well, I don't want to say surprise, but there's an element of chaos there. I'm sure that's planned to be that way, but it makes it hard to sit and be battered by it for 45 minutes. If I want to listen to a noise album, I'll listen to a noise album. And that's where some of this Portal stuff, it kind of skirts along that realm a little bit. It's killer, but
I love
tough.
that they are doing what they're doing. And I think it's really neat. A friend of mine actually toured with them once, and she said that they were just amazing to see every night. Maybe if you toured with them and got to know their set, you would get or maybe if I sat down with their albums and listened to them, multiple times, I would develop a roadmap to their music and know when, oh yeah, well here comes a left turn. I know what's going to happen. I don't know. It is very difficult music.
Yep.
But I don't think that they deserve being called weird for the sake of being weird. That's a big turnoff for me. When you hear an album, it's well, these guys are just really trying to be different. I don't think they're trying to be different. I think they really are pretty fucking weird.
Yeah, agreed.
So I love that. I love that exists. Again, I probably, if I sat down with it long enough, I'd probably fall in love with it.
Yeah.
And I would argue that their least engaging record is the one that's the most accessible for me.
Really?
Yeah, because I do have a kind of weird time with them. I think it was 2016, the record Vexa Void. That one, it's you can remember songs and distinguish them from each other, but it's not even there's 3 Portal records I'd rather listen to before that one. And it's almost I don't know. They're like a noisy black metal band it's I struggle with them too, but it's almost hey, what does this painting of a tree make you think of or feel? Versus hey, what does the color green make you think or feel? And they're in the, hey, check out this color, but they're not necessarily creating an image with it. They're just presenting these raw ingredients in a very visceral way. Does it affect me the same way as other people that might do that same thing with a little bit more structure, like Fanti Faxith does, I think those records are a lot more architectural and memorable.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that what Portal's doing is special too. It's very weird and challenging.
Yeah, it's very swirling and impressionistic, and like you're saying, it's kind of like a blobs of paint, abstract, Yeah. And I love all that. I think that's great. I think it's wonderful. But it does border on ambient music after a certain point.
Yeah.
Agreed, Jip.
And noise too.
All right. Well, I'll go on this last round, then we have time for one more round. Is that cool for you,
Great,
all you guys? You sure? All right. This is an obvious pull. Probably should have been talked about sooner. I think John mentioned them, but yeah, Voivod was on the stack. I mean, they're the first band, from the 80s that really were hard to classify. I mean, I guess War and Pain and Roar were a little easier. I mean, War and Pain was, Venom inspired, and Roar was kind of getting into the unrelenting thrash that was going on and their own weird take on it. But you get to albums like Nothing Face, and it's a band that is starting to, well, not starting to, they pretty much, the thrash is there in spirit, but there's a prog element too that is crept in and become a very vital part to their sound. Dimension Hatros is one of my all-time favorite albums. I absolutely love that album, front to back, never gets old. This one was a little tougher for me to digest, but I got there. It's so clean. It's so clinical sounding. I saw them on this tour. They were headlining. Their openers were Faith No More and Soundgarden. Faith No More hadn't. Halfway through the tour, Faith No More broke. They had to be pulled off the tour for a bigger tour. And then Soundgarden was Louder Than Love tour. And they were amazing. I had never heard a note from Soundgarden. I was there to see fucking Voivod. These other two bands, I'm like, this funk crap sucks. And then Soundgarden comes off and blows the roof off of Harpo's in Detroit. The place just exploded. And as soon as they were done, the place emptied to maybe 15, 20, 30 people for Voivod. And that right there is kind of where even now they take weird tours. They're on with weird bands. They always seem like the odd band out, even though they're killer musicians, so inventive, writing good songs, using atypical, I don't know if they're chords or tuning or what Piggy's thing was. I always thought it was just these bizarre chords. Maybe it was just altered tuning, a different tuning, but he had a very distinct sound and hard to classify with thrash, but they lived in it pretty careful. Oh, here we go.
It's a diminished chord.
Is it?
You got 1, flat 5, and the octave. There's a lot
shit.
of that.
Right on. Yeah. But it always set them apart. And of course, Snake's voice was always different. He had kind of a weird snarl about him. It's almost a punkish type of vocal style, which they kind of came from that realm as well. And I'll tell you what, man, throughout the years, John, he came from the punk crowd, and punk and metal, even though I think early on the fans hated each other, they really complement each other very well. I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but crossover's a thing. Bands like The Accused are like one of my all-time favorite bands. DRI to a lesser extent, but punk and metal, and especially when you add a sci-fi contingent to it, the mix, and this weird, they're way up there in a old mining town, Jonquière, Canada. They're kind of isolated from all these other scenes going on, even from their own scenes in Canada. I mean, they didn't sound like Slaughter or Sacrifice or any of those, Razor. They were completely on a different planet. So always hard to classify, but always so rich. The songs are rich. The sound, everything very unique, hard to classify. Voivod, one of my favorites, 100%. All right, last round. Charlie, what you got?
All right. Well, I got, I guess I'm going to end with really interesting record that I just wanted to shine some light on because it's such a work of art and it was such a undertaking from my understanding when they wrote this. This is a collaborative record between Mike Scheid of Yob and James Romig, who's a composer, and it's called The Complexity of Distance. This is a minimalist kind of like doom record, and the artwork across the album cover actually does a really great job of depicting the compositional layout of the material, because the way it was designed was basically to have like different guitar chords that play at different time intervals. So like, hey, play a D chord every like 6.5 minutes and play a C sharp chord every 3 minutes and 23 seconds. And the composer, James Romig, went through and actually found out how all of these things lay on top of each other, slowed it all down. And so you have this weird, like, it sounds like an ambient record, but it's a mathematical calculation of how these different moving pieces, when you give them enough time, they come back to realign with each other again. So all in between the organization and the layout of the chords, they fall into different orders with different spacing. It's a puzzle piece. It's like John was talking about earlier with like the Rubik's Cube that is his synthesizer nightmare back there. This is like a weird fractal geometric puzzle that also uses heavy metal in a weird way. And I think, Mike Scheit in general is such a special musician and artist who I think needs to be given credit where credit's due in terms of the boundaries that he has always pushed in his career. And I mean, John, I know you've worked with him too, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But
Oh yeah.
but like this record really is maybe one of the most ambitious compositionally records that Relapse has ever put out. That's for sure. But it stands on its own. It's unique, and it's not one of those records that you hear that blows your mind. But when you listen to it and you remind yourself that this thing was so meticulous and intentionally created, it's deeply moving and beautiful. And yeah, the guitar tone on it's awesome. Everything about it's awesome. I got to see him play this live actually a couple times, which was really cool, like excerpts from it. And it was really an amazing experience, and the energy that he brought to it live was just made the whole thing incredible. And the record's great too. So highly recommend. This is, again, the Complexity of Distance collaborative record between Mike Scheit and the composer James Romig. So highly recommend.
Hearing you describe that, I'm pretty sure I'm not smart enough to listen to that album.
You are. Don't worry.
Are you
Don't
sure?
worry.
Are you
it
sure?
Goes on, it's like easy to listen to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, John.
So where is that, Charlie? Like, the compositional technique, like I think it was like John Cage or what's his face? God damn it! It was I think it was called phasing, where you'd have things happen and then stretch it a little bit, like they would phase the things, and they would get really out of tune and far away, then they would come back closer and closer together. And
there's Christoph Penderecki, I think he did that, but like Philip Glass does that. I don't know who invented it. I honestly.
Who's that fucking guy from the no wave scene of New York who would do the huge guitar orchestras? His name's on the tip of my tongue.
It begins with a B.
Huge influence on Sonic Youth. In fact, no, it wasn't Lamont Young. It was
Glenn Branca.
Yeah. Branca.
Yeah.
Branca, man, that dude. Now, I didn't really understand where Sun O came from until, well, they were. I had Earth 2, the album Earth 2, which I thought that might be where Sun O sort of like got their genesis or whatever. But then I realized Glenn Branca might have been an important figure for a lot of, that kind of thing. So anybody have any comments on that or any insight on that? Kind of reaching into things I don't know much about here. So.
Yeah, I know
rules.
zero. Yeah.
And they actually just did a performance of a symphony for 100 guitars with like everybody having their own amps in New York City. And the guitarist from the band Piron was a part of that. And I saw some of his posts all around that. And he was like, this was fucking insane. It was crazy.
Nice.
Yeah.
So for my pick, I got nothing. No, I'm just kidding. There's I more accurately, I really don't know which one to talk about. So I think I'm going to talk about a record that had a huge influence on me. When I was first decided that I wanted to write The Bastard. This was the beginning of Hammers of Misfortune. And I heard this one, I bought this record at Aquarius Records, and I took it home and I put it on, and I just started laughing. Like, oh my God, this is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. So I put it in my messenger bag, rode my bike back over to Aquarius to trade it in for, you know, the new fucking like Emperor EP or whatever the hell. And by the time I got to the record store, I turned around and went back home and put it on. And it's been one of my favorite records ever since. And I actually have it on CD, but that means I would have to leave the room. So I'm not going to go get it. It's a record called Nordavind by a band called Storm.
Storm.
Yeah.
That album rules. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was Seder from Satyricon before he started wearing Armani suits. And and Fenriz of Dark Throne on vocals. And he's a great fucking singer.
He can be. Yeah.
Yeah. He can be.
He can be.
I love it. And I think he's also on drums. And then the woman who's singing is it Third in the Mortal?
Third in the Mortal. Carly, or what's her name?
Yeah.
It starts with a K. I can't remember.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful singing voice. And what they did was they took all these old Norse like children's songs.
Yeah.
And or traditional folk tunes and played them in a black metal style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was at first like my friends and I were just laughing at it. It's like, oh my God, it sounds like pirate music or some stupid but then after you listen to it enough times, it's like, yeah, man, this is like just makes you want to stomp around. And then they have actually one song on the record where Fenris is singing the song while stomping his boot on the ground, and they mic his boot, and it's just his voice and his boot stomping on the ground. It's like you're on a fucking Viking ship with this dude, and he's stomping on the deck, singing at you, you know, to keep. And it really affected me deeply. This record affected me a lot, and it had a big influence on the direction of the Bastard. And subsequently, Hammer's entire career. Isengard, yes, absolutely. That's where I went after the Storm record. With the influence of like iconic folk melodies, you know, like dun da da dun da da, you know, when Johnny comes marching home again, da da.
Yeah,
like those things are like atavistic, right? All of us remember those kinds of melodies from when we were little kids, and you know, that's what armies march to, you know, is melodies like those, like fife and drum shit, you know. But there's those kind of iconic melodies where I'm always inclined to progressive music. I'm always overcomplicating things, but every once in a while you can put 2 or 3 notes together and it's just like great. That's Christmas music, man. Na, 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 na. That's 3 notes, you know?
Yeah.
So that record like brought home a lot of that shit to me. And the other thing that record brought home to me is how much I love to hear male and female vocals together.
Yeah.
Over metal, which anyone who listens to Hammers or even LUDICRA knows that this is something I've worked with quite a bit over the years. And I have to give that record by Storm a lot of fucking credit for that. Beautiful album.
It is.
Highly recommended.
That was a very special time, very prolific time for a lot of those. Satyr also did that Wong Raven.
I got that too. Yeah.
I really enjoy that as well. It's got dark ambient on it. But it isn't just mood. There's actually some songs woven into that. It's a special time, I think, for all those artists. Very good stuff.
That was the birth of Dungeon Synth.
Yeah, that and Mortis. Yeah.
Mortis and some other guy that we don't like or don't want to talk about.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Alan's up. What do you take us home with, Alan?
Let's see. Just a couple of quick honorable mentions. The Paul Shane catalog would definitely fit this topic nicely. He not only pushed boundaries, he invented a language to write in.
That's cool.
His whole He had like his own phonetic language, and the man's catalog is almost impossible to document. There's all these different projects, different labels, extremely different styles at different times. So you could do an entire episode on Paul Chain. I'm not qualified to, but somebody could.
That's a radical research project.
That would be
Yeah.
radical research. They did like a very short period of Paul Chain's catalog. A couple of years ago. But that would be a good one for them to revisit. You're right. Radical Research actually did this band too. Another quick honorable mention, Geigen. In terms of pushing boundaries, they're brutal, psychedelic, sci-fi, horror, death metal. Eric Hirschman has a lot of pedals and effects, and it's all it sounds like a total mishmash, but it's really, really cool and nicely done. But I'll end on a kind of a contemporary one too, although sadly the band's not active. It, I guess, was a thrash metal project from Atlanta, but it was one that was trying to, I think, really do something different and unique with thrash, which isn't a genre that's always the easiest to take in new directions. Everybody kind of just wants to go back to the classics. But this band, Sadistic Ritual, they did 2 albums and a combination of some splits, singles, etc. They really did have something interesting going on. It's very much thrash metal at its core. But this is the debut album, Visionary of Death. And yes, this, at least the artwork qualifies as antler metal. But musically, it's a thrash core with all the songs stripped down to more of a punk or hardcore length. You have 3 minutes is pushing it for a lot of these songs. So very.
What's the name? What's the name of this record?
The album is called Visionary of Death by Sadistic Ritual.
That sounds like right up my alley, man. That sounds like exactly the kind of shit I want to hear these days.
It gets better. It really does, because it's not only, or is it just these short compact thrash songs. Every track has at least 3 or 4 either different sections or time signature changes. So they're packing a lot of segments into all of these songs. The vocals are blackened metal. It's this black metal rasp for the vocal delivery. I mean, it still is, kind of a little deep, has maybe a touch of death metal too. Very intelligible. They're not going for anything really, guttural or really hissy. But so, it's like blackened vocals attached to thrash metal written at punk tempos, but with all the time changes you'd have in a Dream Theater song, but they do it all in about 3 minutes per track. And it's just brilliant. It is so cool.
I'm checking that out.
I hope you like it. It is really cool. They made one more album a couple years later, which has this kind of crazy cover.
Oh shit! I actually have that record.
Okay, I thought you did.
couldn't tell you what I couldn't tell you what it sounds like. I've listened to it once. I need to dig it out. Apparently,
well, on this one, it's compared to the first one, they do go in a little different direction. This one is less violent but darker. So they let the songs go a little bit longer. It doesn't have quite the same like really violent energy of the first album, but this one has more of kind of a menacing dark sound to it. The vocal delivery is the same. There's still a lot of very interesting tempos and shifts that they go through in each song. But they were like, okay, let's tinker with our own unique sound. I think there's also some personnel changes between the 2 albums. The main guy in the project was Charlie Southern, who's been in some other Atlanta-based metal bands over the years. But unfortunately, it seems like it was a project where he just could not keep a stable lineup. So about a year ago, he officially just called it quits for Sadistic Ritual. I thought this is what thrash metal should be doing in recent years. This is the way to try to innovate and do something really creative in a style that we all love, but just way too many bands are content to, flip up the hat and, palm mute the riff a few times and yay, another thrash album that we've all already heard thousands of times. Sadistic Ritual were on to something, and it's a shame that the project didn't continue to really develop that idea. So I will close on that one and implore folks. It's an easy, the Visionaire of Death. It's an easy album to find. It's all over Discogs for like $10 a copy.
Cool.
It's not hard, and it's the best $10 I've spent on an album probably the past 2 years.
Right on.
I'm all over that one. I love it. I've never heard it, but I'm going to.
I really hope you like it. I hope other folks out there, maybe if it sounded
I
interesting,
love that kind of stuff.
check it out. It really is really just. I'm really amazed that they came up with something so cool, and unfortunately, nobody caught on time.
Kari was her name. Thank you. Thanks for the info. All right. Well, I'm going to take us up with Human Remains, Using Sickness as a Hero. This is I don't remember where these guys are from. This is Relapse during the heyday. At the core, it's grind, but they do a lot of really weird, herky-jerky type of riff things, quirky. A lot of, watch them live, they're like picking these riffs while, doing the volume swells. It make kind of the same shit that Gorguts was doing during the Obscura era. Kind of mind-blowing shit to watch how they can do that. And make it so perfect every time. It's very cool effect. But yeah, weird sounds thrown in, strange time signatures. This was a very jazzy, twisted grindcore band. And this album, this is Master's Hammer with Philomenice Occultist. I can never say it. I picked this band basically for their latest album, which is all like a dancey electronic record. Very strange, but still feels like Master's Hammer. They're a very weird band. And I picked this just to get Alan's goat, basically, but Chameleon by Halloween. You want to talk about defying convention?
No, that doesn't define convention. there is no one attends that convention.
Basically, you've got multiple songwriters writing their solo album, and it all congealed onto one very confused album. It's very long. He wanted to be another power metal classic with Kiska on vocals, but there's big band elements on here. There's weird ballads. There's just really round and round type of AOR. The record's a mess. Over the year, it's 71 fucking minutes long. Over the years, I've found an avenue of appreciation here, even though this is the worst Halloween record. But
have you figured out which stroke of paint on the cover is for which member of the band?
There's not enough strokes, Charlie. There's 5 guys. There's 5 guys, not 4.
Okay. Well,
but here it actually has them kind of
so
there you see, and then the rhythm section.
Those two dudes
green.
are both green.
Yeah, that's a rhythm section.
Green Rangers.
Yeah, you got Ingo and Marcus there. The rhythm section is green.
Charlie, you were saying earlier how some albums seem like they're painting with a color. This album paints with the color brown, and I'll tell you where the brown is derived from.
This is like a toddler finger painting.
Whatever. I can't hear you. All right. Well, before we wrap, people have been asking, John, what you've got going on. People are asking about VHOL. Is that a project that's complete, or are you going to be doing new stuff? People are asking about what you got going on. Obviously, the newest thing is Advancer. Link in the description to check out some very cool, aggressive electronic music, which Charlie has also contributed some violin work to. John, take it away. What do you got going on? What is in the works?
Well, VHOL is I can't really do VHOL without Mike and Aesop because they're just too busy with their careers, right? And we live in Montana. I'm 1,000 miles away from Aesop and 8 hours away from Mike. They're super busy. However, Sigrid and I just on Christmas Eve, we decided we were going to put together a D-beat band, right?
Fun.
And so with some friends locally here in Montana, and we actually have we've written a whole set now, and we've played one show. We were supposed to play our second show Wednesday night, but our drummer fell off a ladder at his job and was injured. So we're on hold for that. But this has turned out to be a really, really fun little project. It's not too far off from VHOL, but we're doing like, I have a rule, right? No song can be longer than 2 minutes. So, yeah, this is like, and Charlie and I went to the record store in Portland together, and so he knows where I'm at with this stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
We are like, it's short, brutal, fucking based on D beat with maybe a little touch of like street punk in here and there, and like, you know, anything I do has metal. So I think to a lot of punks, it's probably going to sound like a metal band. So if you miss VHOL, you might like the band. The band is named after war. It's called NAM. And that is apostrophe NAM with a circle around the fucking A, of course. Because we are at the core a D-beat band. And it just feels really good to play with a drummer, crank up the amps, play with real people. You know, I can only do this crap for so long before I start feeling like I'm disappearing up my own ass, you know? So, yeah, I got a real band with Cigarette again, and we're playing some fucking loud, fast rock and roll. So that's what's happening with that. As far as Hammers goes, Hammers Hammers will never die. I just, you know, I do things when I feel like, when I'm compelled to do them, right? If I feel like a Hammers album is starting to well up in here, then that'll be the time. Right now, that's just not, you have to follow your gut, man. You have to follow your heart. If you don't, you're just going to end up phoning in records, and nobody wants to hear a phoned in record.
Yeah.
Good point.
You know? So if it's not trying to claw its way out, I'm just going to let it grow, you know, and maybe there will be another one. Maybe there won't. I don't know. Right now I'm just doing what's in here. You know, I'm following my curiosity.
Excuse me. Holy smoke.
Gesundheit. I hope that answers the question.
Someone also asked about Iron Cemetery.
Yeah, Iron Cemetery is not together anymore. That was a band I formed when I moved to Montana with a couple of local dudes, and our drummer had to move. He moved away, so that band didn't continue. Sorry,
Right on.
It was fun.
Oh, unhappy face.
I'm sorry.
Awesome. Charlie, what about you? What you got going on?
Oh, I am no other releases on the radar or anything like that. But next time that I'll be out on the road will be with Panopticon in October. We're doing 5 dates on the East Coast with Catharsis. And then from there, stay tuned. There's exciting things in the works for 2027 that, Marty, I don't think I've even talked to you about yet, but I'm excited to share.
Okay.
So more to come soon. As far as recordings go, I'm sure there's something I've worked on that's coming out, but I can't think of anything off the top of the dome. So it's a little quiet these days.
Play Missoula.
Yeah, we'd love to. That'd be awesome.
We can stay at our house. Everybody play Missoula. We can have shows here. We have all ages venues here.
John can do sound for you.
No, my band will open for you.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Sick.
Alan, how about you? Let's talk metal. What's going on Tuesday?
Let's see. This week we've been talking about science fiction in heavy metal, bands that have like a strong sci-fi component, and folks have been discussing lots of cool ones. Some I know, some I don't. Next week, let's say I just got that uploaded this afternoon. It's just a short sort of book review on the Sodom autobiography.
I've got it. I've been meaning to crack it.
And they just got it translated into English this year. So,
is it out?
Yes, it is. It's out.
Yeah, I gotta read that.
So, yep, it's available, and I'll share some thoughts about that next Tuesday over on that channel.
Cool.
Marty,
Awesome.
what y'all got for Album Club next week?
Next Wednesday, Album Club. Logan picked Wormrot's Dirge album, 17-minute long. We'll probably talk for 2 hours on an album that's 17 minutes long. So that's a thing. And tomorrow night, or tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern on the Heavy Metallurgy Discord server, I'll be doing Radio Metallurgy number 7. This one, my son Parker picked all the programming for the entire show. So I'll be spinning his playlist and talking about the tracks in between. So if you guys want to hang out around 5 o'clock Eastern over on the Discord server, I'll be spinning some music. So
Good deal. Yeah.
That's that.
Oh, and let's say one last reminder to folks that may be tuned in later. In the show notes, there is a link to is it GoFundMe that they were
it's a
doing, Marty?
GoFundMe link. Yep.
Yeah, there's a GoFundMe for Neil Jameson, whose wife just passed away. So if you'd like to contribute a little bit, to help him and his family out in this time, the link's there. So just want to make sure folks were aware of that in case they didn't hear it at the start of the show.
Hell yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. John, Charlie, you guys rule. Hang out. Don't hang up. We'll chat afterwards. Everybody in the chat, you all rule. Greatest community on the internet. We appreciate all of you. Thank you. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Antler metal.
Check out Advancer. Link in the description. Go